Rolling 20s fans, this is V, and I'm here to talk to you today about a new sponsor for our show, Casey's Irish Pub. This is an honest-to-God Boston or Chicago-style Irish pub located in downtown Los Angeles. They serve cooked food, 11 kinds of beer, and 49 different Irish whiskeys from 3 different distilleries. What does that mean? That means if you're looking for a good drink during the Los Angeles convention, you don't have to go far. If you're headed to LA for E3, Kamikaze, Anime Expo, the Los Angeles Car Show, or one of the hundreds of events happening near the Staples Center, then a good meal and a glass of Guinness is just a short walk away. Jeremy, the loud guy who won't shut up when we do our podcast, actually ate there during the last Anime Expo, and this is what he had to say. I went down to Casey's Pub looking for a place to bring people for a good night of food and found it when I was driving on my way to the Los Angeles Convention Center. We went back, and I had the best steak pot pie of my life down there. My wife had a good whiskey to sip, and 8 of us had fun talking and eating in a place that looked like it belonged in a movie. Casey's is just a couple of blocks from the Westin Bonaventure. That means it's close to one of the Anime Expo's shuttle stops. We're even hosting a photo shoot there during the 2014 Anime Expo. Email us about that at mspfreight@yahoo.com. So do yourself a favor and don't stock up on bad beer and try to mix something sitting at the desk in your hotel room. Ride the shuttle, get off at the Bonaventure, and walk to Casey's Irish Pub to get some drinks by their bartenders. Make some new memories and have some fun. We want to see you there.
In a world full of crime, one man is determined to kill Batman once and for all. His name is Director Joel Schumacher.
Action!
Batman and Robin. Watch Academy Award-winning ladies' man George Clooney phone it in as Batman, a hero capable of performing impossible feats, except for moving his neck or body.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rolling 20s. We are the show that seeks the Joker's daughter to be referred to the Department of Child and Family Services. I am Jeremy.
Jesse.
And V?
He was big enough he could drive a truck through him. Remember, you can find this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstartpodcast.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send me any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The clip you heard at the beginning of the show was by Screen Junkie's Honest Trailers for Batman and Robin, if anyone remembers that horrible turd. You can find their videos on YouTube. The music you heard before the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their music for free download at machinesupremacy.com, with their latest couple of albums available on Amazon. Steve is out today due to work, deciding to pull a few 12-hour shifts on extra days. How are you two doing today?
Pretty good.
Hanging in there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I'm staring in the face of the Anime Expo, and I'm still trying to decide if that's a good thing. You know, it's literally less than 2 weeks away.
Don't stare too long, you might go blind.
I usually do that by doing something else. It's kind of intimidating to think that I will be, maybe only 40 miles down the road, but it will be several floors up in a tower, and today would be the last day of the convention. And hopefully a bunch of good things will happen, although the last few years, it's kind of hard to get your hopes completely up, Guest list is moderate. I'm still a little put off by the fact that they're starting to charge for more activities. Did you hear about that?
No.
They're having a special Kill la Kill event. The voice actresses who played Ryuko and Satsuki are showing up. The lady who sang the opening theme is going to show up, and she's going to pull a mini concert, which is cool. It's going to be a large panel involving, I think, a director and a producer and the animation director. But all this could cost you an extra $35 to $45. And to attend this thing, you do have to buy a badge to begin with. There's actually a second concert, which is kind of like a different version of Video Games Live going on that weekend as well. That's an extra $35. Getting into the Masquerade is an extra $15. So you may have to pay $150 to try and do everything that's going on inside the convention.
Yeah.
Although the AMV contest is still free somehow. I have no idea how that works.
Yeah, me either.
So, what about you, V? You're just sitting back and watching this testosterone fling back and forth, as weak as it is.
Well, I'm trying to think of something clever or interesting to insert here, but
Well, how many cats do you have?
3?
Really?
Well, 2. I have 2 of my own, and then my roommate has a cat.
Okay, so you're starting early then.
What, with the crazy cat lady stuff? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I just want to know, when is the period you start adopting them at random from the street, and when is the period you start throwing them at people randomly on the street?
80.
Wow, she has high goals. That's good. I was worried you were going to say, what, that was 3 weeks ago.
No, I'm not that crazy yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, was it just me, or did Jesse suddenly turn into the Emperor from Star Wars? Yet. Yet. Good. The discussion this week is going to be about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, since all of us on the show have watched it voluntarily. I did want to get some opinions together regarding it. In the meantime, we'll start with our usual Kickstarter corner, and we've had a few more things that have ended recently. The oldest one we've had so far is Strong Female Protagonist. This is the one by Molly Osterich of Brooklyn, New York, who already has a webcomic of strong female protagonists about a superhero trying to maintain her personal life. Well, she started her Kickstarter to turn into an actual graphic novel, a physical copy. This one ended 3 days ago, so that would have been the 19th of June. Had 1,967 backers. The goal was only $8,000. She ended up with $60,974.
Nice.
You can't argue when you get strong results. And I admit I have not read her webcomic whatsoever. The art is just not my speed. I do like the idea of the story, though, and she hit all but 2 of her stretch goals.
Nice.
So, I don't know what else there is to really say. If she hit many more, she might have been able to do this as a full-time job instead of maybe just a lucrative hobby. But congratulations to her at the very least. I don't really know what else to say about it, but she pulled it off. One here that has moved up the list due to several closures is the Hollywood Sci-Fi Museum. New Starship of Los Angeles, California, they had an idea based on a sci-fi museum that is out on the East Coast, as well as the successful Kickstarter they had already regarding another nerdy project. They wanted to create a nonprofit educational museum that teaches science fiction in film, TV, art, and literature, and real space and science through science fiction. If you guys remember, this one had, what was it, like 16 hours to go last week, and it was at $78,000, right?
Something like that.
Okay. Well, this one ended 6 days ago. It ended not long after our last show. So that would have been, what, the 16th? No, the 15th, I'm sorry. It had 1,867 backers at the end. The goal to get this started was $82,300. Final tally is $93,428. This place will exist.
Awesome.
Good.
I mean, this, according to what I read, any donation automatically received a ticket for their for the year of 2015, which I assume is when they plan to open. I am very sorry I forgot all about it because I wanted to put money behind this, but they did manage to pull it off. Thankfully, thankful frickin'ly.
I bet some people started sharing more aggressively to their friends and stuff. I should have done that. I wish I had.
Yeah, it does surprise me that some of the $500 stuff did not get taken, although here's part of the boost. Remember we were talking about the $500 packages where people go to special theme days and get pictures with cast and crew and all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I know that nobody took those last time we were here. Since we came back, all 10 of the Firefly ones are gone. Half of the Doctor Who ones, 5 of them at $500, are gone. Somebody took a $1,000 level for Drinks with Jane Espenson.
Espenson.
Oh, thank you. 3 of them at $2,000 are gone. Weddings on the Star Trek TOS or TNG Enterprise Bridge.
Dude! That would have been so sweet. Not that I'm planning to get married, but...
And somebody took one of the $3,000 tiers for a private preview tour of the museum.
Nice.
So several people came up with a higher amount ones all at once, and it looks like that really pushed them over the edge. I just want to know when. I just want to know when and where.
Because you'll be there. Hey, that rhymes.
Oh, yeah. We found V's new career as rap. But no, this is the kind of place that I think not only would I be thoroughly entertained walking through here, my wife would be thoroughly entertained. I'm sure my kids would just go bananas.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would go bananas, and I'm not a kid anymore.
Well, if we all get out to San Diego like we were talking about earlier, maybe we should make this part of the trip. Just take a long car ride and walk through this gigantic museum full of stuff that makes all of us go, ooh.
I'm down for that.
Turn us back into kids. Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean back? We have another one here that's finally ended. Solar Roadways. The project to run a prototype for someone's idea of adding solar panels to the roads of America. This has been going on for, like 2 months now. It finally ended on June 20th. I don't know how many people backed. It had 48,476 backers. The goal to start this was $1 million. They ended at $2,200,961.
People are really enthusiastic for this.
It's one of those things that can really change how we live in this country. We won't have remote power systems anymore, so people can actually get power wherever they live in towns. It's also something that can cut our emissions if we can manage to create enough energy that makes electric cars really viable.
Mm-hmm. I just hope that some of the downsides don't turn out to be as bad, or...
Well, like I said, this is a prototype. There's always going to be considerations, and they got to figure out how to make it really work well. But I have a feeling it's also one of those things where if it worked, it's going to affect other technology. Because last time you brought up somebody's concerns about traction for glass on tires.
Uh-huh.
Well, it occurs to me that without the roads as they are, the nature of tires in cars would probably have to adjust as well.
That's true. I thought about bringing that up, but I wasn't sure how practical. Last week, I wasn't sure how practical that really is, because, that'd be great, but it'll take a long time to gain momentum, because...
Yeah, it's one of those things that's hard to argue to all people, because innovation requires change, and new change often requires new innovation.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that we seem to, at least in my opinion, have rested on our laurels on in this country, is that when things change, it requires new products. Well, instead, we seem to have this pervasive feeling of, well, don't change shit, and I won't need new shit.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, totally.
So we've already hit a requirement for change. The way we live, it's not one of those things that like far right wingers would say. Your climate change is not happening because it's not happening fast enough. We're pushing this needle slowly. We're just not noticing it fast enough.
Right.
So if this actually works, then this could change the type of fuel sources we use in the long term to something much cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And if it generates enough power as it's advertised, it could actually hook up buildings into these power grids as well. I think air conditioning is like one of the biggest energy users we have.
Yeah, I would think so.
So I look at this thing as a positive, and it does seem a very viable invention. It's not using a whole lot of brand new technologies. It's just repurposing it to something we can really utilize.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jesse, you okay back there?
Yeah.
It's
You
just
haven't
listening.
said anything. It's one of those, I don't want to say intellectual discussions, it's just a bunch of what ifs. What do you think?
I don't. Well, when you mentioned hooking up the buildings, I'm thinking like that's not going to work for like New York City.
Actually, it would work perfectly for New York City. Everything is so close in together, and this is the type of thing that if it works, you wouldn't just be able to put it in the roadways and streets. You could put it on rooftops.
Don't they already
That's
do
true.
that anyways? In fact, I heard they're actually using their windows in place.
There's different technologies, but the accumulators on the rooftops in places like New York would make more sense. And this is all newer technology. It's more efficient.
Well, I'm still looking at it, like, yes, it won't. It's not going to completely replace our current power
System?
current systems right now, but it's a great supplement.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere.
I agree.
There's, I hate the argument of, well, this isn't going to be enough, so we can't do it. You got to start.
Mhm.
Just like anything, if you don't start doing anything, then everything stays the same and everything's effed up.
Right. So even if this doesn't work right now, someone will find a way to adapt it to good use.
It's a foundation for something better.
Yeah.
Right,
And
exactly.
I also look at it like water rationing and everything. Sometimes, something like this would garner great amounts of power in the western U.S. or in the entire southern region of the U.S. It may not do as well in places in New York, but you can always supplement that by shunting power into the other cities. Especially if you create the national system like this, it wouldn't be that difficult to do. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, no, I'm listening. It just depends on a lot of numbers. Reluctant to put forth an opinion without feeling more educated. You know what I mean?
Yes, I totally agree. I totally understand.
I just want to make sure you guys are not, agreeing by nodding or something, because that sounds really great on a podcast.
Insert emoticon nod.
Insert emoticon juggle. You see, we also have a kind of unusual crowdfunder on this show anyway, because we have supporting the Wild Spirit Wolf Sanctuary. That one has 27 days to go. It's on Prizeo.com. They have a goal of $500,000. They currently sit at $422,159. The reason why this one ends up here is because George R.R. Martin is very interested in the Wolf Sanctuary, and he's put up several awards. Somebody took the original appearance in, the original goal, the original reward of being written into one of George R.R. Martin's books and killed.
Uh-huh.
Somebody took it. Not only that, two people bid on it at the same time, so he split it. He allowed both people to be written into a book.
Nice.
And what has he done in exchange? He's added two more. So there's two more at $20,000 for people to take. And he added both of them are gone. So he did split it, and both of those are gone. He's added a new one where I think for $25,000 it says "Hand at the Table 2." You can have brunch with George R.R. Martin.
Nice.
I've heard that may also include a trip to Comic-Con.
Okay.
There you go. A rare opportunity for you and a guest, or two, to have brunch with George in San Diego on Sunday, July 27th, the last day of Comic-Con. You'll also receive a signed map of Westeros and an exclusive campaign T-shirt. That also includes airfare for two and 2 nights hotel accommodations.
Nice.
They'll actually fly in.
Nice.
That's rare. A lot of people don't even allow that. So depending on how interested you are in Comic-Con, that could be very worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Although it doesn't say Comic-Con tickets. I have heard that they added something where George will take you to Comic-Con in a VIP experience. You'll be behind one of the tables instead of walking through them. I wonder if that's that one or if there's something else they set up. Oh, well. Something else we've been following is Comic Library by Ethan McDonald of National City, California. This is a man that wants to put up a comic book library in San Diego, a place for people to sit down, read comics, and engage in people skills. This Kickstarter has 29 days to go. It ends on Monday, July 21st. Currently has 4 backers. The goal is $175,000. They currently have $17.
That's not very much.
It hasn't changed in the last 3 or 4 weeks we've looked at it. It's been the same amount of money. You know, it feels like we're hammering it into the ground. It's a decent idea at a bad time. With so many digital distribution sources, this is barely necessary.
Yeah. Oh,
so
I think it could be better suited if it was like a website that's a comic book library. There's probably already some of them, though.
Probably. I mean, I wonder if part of the problem, maybe he needs like a cafe or something attached to this, someplace where people can actually sit and eat.
That could be an idea.
Well, when I think library, I don't think about social. I think about a bunch of people sitting in silence, flipping through books, writing, tapping on keyboards.
Yeah, it might be better to say, like, cafe or something. Like, some of the modern bookstores will have, like, a little coffee thing right in it.
Yeah. So, maybe we're tapping on the problem, but it's not our Kickstarter. We have another one that ended, though. Pale Blue, the 2D side-scrolling game being done by Tinker Games of Bandung, Indonesia. This is one about a young lady whose DNA has been spliced with some kind of monster, and she's trying to fight her way out. This one actually ended 3 days ago, so it ended on the 19th. It has 1,305 backers. The goal to get this started is $48,000. This was another one that was coming close towards the end of its cycle. It ended at $59,574.
Cool.
This game will be made.
Nice.
I wonder if this is going to be Steam or not. But
most things are.
Yeah, it seems to be a game that has a sense of humor as well as its slightly sci-fi horror bend. It actually has knockoff Power Rangers called the Aurora Rangers. Something else called the Iron Knight that looks suspiciously like Kamen Rider. And Alpha Man, who looks like, I guess you can say, an animated-up Superman character. So it appears someone had a sense of humor putting this one together. Oh, actually, there it is, Steam Greenlight. They want you to vote for it. So they did attain a couple of their stretch goals, and this game will be on Mac and Linux, excuse me. The original stretch goal was just playing enough money to make the game. Okay. Well, like I said, at least they got somewhere.
Indeed.
Let's see. We have Laser Team by Rooster Teeth on Indiegogo. The team behind Red vs. Blue and Ruby on roosterteeth.com wants to create an actual movie.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what Laser Team is. It has something to do with the 1970s search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And I guess it has something to do with, instead of benevolent aliens or warlike aliens answering, it's terrorist aliens that have answered the call.
XCOM?
That appears... Huh?
Is that XCOM or something?
I don't know. For all I know, it's E.T. with a suicide vest. He comes screaming at you. Boom.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've tried to do that impression. It has 15 days to go and ends on July 6th. They needed $650,000 to start this, but 24,087 funders have given them $1,658,995.
Yeah, it's being made.
It's 2.5 times total funding is what they've gotten so far. And
I saw.
They've already hit. I was going to say they already hit all 3 stretch goals they have. The biggest one was $1.5 million for an international premiere.
I was going to say I came across something on my YouTube feed about they're doing some kind of live stream about
it. They've done a couple of promos and videos to help and fund about the Kickstarter. or inform regarding the Kickstarter. But yeah, it's already blasted by its goals. They may have to come up with something new. Or for all I know, maybe this means we'll get a live-action Red versus Blue. They got money left over.
Live-action Red versus Blue. You just go to any comic book. You can probably go into any sci-fi convention to see that.
Not really. There's less people than you think in those armors. I don't know if that's because it's been a little while since the last Halo game, or just because of how long it would take to produce each set. I found a new one called Gen Con Video Bonanza. Somebody is trying, well, not somebody, Baca Force Games of Fort Wayne, Indiana, is trying to put together a compilation video that's all about Gen Con. Gen Con is usually a big RPG convention. This one has 28 days to go. It ends on Sunday, July 20th. It has 23 backers. The goal to make this was $400, and they currently have $446. So they already have what they need to do this. They do have a few stretch goals. $500 would get upgraded set lighting. $600 would get Bowers Game Corner website. $900 plus would be a new camera and tripod. There's really not a heck of a lot to say about it because they've already gotten their goal and there's a month to go. You know, this is one of those things we're not going to know much about until after Gen Con of this year is over. We have another Kickstarter regarding a Greenlight game. No, I'm sorry. This isn't about a Greenlight game. This is about another idea for a gaming center or cafe. This is called The Video Game Story That Can Beat Out Any Other by Michael Christian Gale of Oshawa, Canada. He wants to take every video game that people have seen since 1978 and turn it into a gamer lounge in Canada. That's the entirety of his plan. And he also wants to open a new store every 5 years and bring down GameStop/EB Games.
Someone has an agenda.
I'm not sure. Maybe he found somebody behind the counter that wasn't very attentive when he tried to buy something. I don't know. He has 41 days to go on this. This ends on Saturday, August 2nd. The goal is $50,000 Canadian. He currently has $0.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
You think GameStop is cock-blocking him?
I don't think they have to even try.
Agreed.
You know, it's very rare that somebody comes up with a Kickstarter of "Help me destroy them." So I may follow that just to see where this car crash ends. The last one I have is another one of this vein. It's a virtual reality and PC gaming cafe by Nick Lee of Boston, Massachusetts. He wants to specialize in virtual reality and PC gaming in a gaming center. He has a website called goodgameboston.com. This Kickstarter is 52 days to go. It ends on August 13th. Currently, he has 4 backers. The goal to start this is $25,000. He has $36.
Mm-hmm.
Probably all from friends.
It's probably a guess. He seems to have more of a business plan than the prior one. He talked about that the different specials and deals will need to be held Monday through Thursday for low traffic days. You know, the possibility that there may not be enough stations during peak times. Poor advertisement. You know, he's got all these ideas that he seems to have ways to overcome. But there's still the idea that, you know, this... I guess I'm trying to figure out how this will stand out from the crowd. You know, we've had Kickstarters where these places are not just gaming centers; they're full cafes and restaurants attached to them, and they have very social platforms that they mess with. This one doesn't talk about that. It just talks about trying to make people use the stations in the center. So that's all well and good for business and for gamers, but you know, you don't want to be one of the guys just stuck standing around if everything is full. You need to have some way to entertain them in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I don't see that as part of the plan.
For some reason, when you mentioned the virtual reality game PC cafe, I thought, what, this guy's going to bring back the Virtual Boy?
Why not? It fits in that vein. But one of the things he talks about is that the location of Boston is a great place to put this due to the large amount of colleges and tech companies. I would almost wonder if that makes it a great place to put that, because college students are not the biggest spenders, and then you have a bunch of people with tech companies. They're the ones that can afford to get their own shite.
Yeah.
So, I don't mean to piss on the man's dream. I'm just thinking out loud again. So, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the man's poor dream.
Well, from there we'll move into video game news. This is where we talk about all kinds of stuff that's video game related, because all four of us, including the guy that isn't here, are pretty avid video gamers. The first one I wanted to talk about is something that we've been tapping on for the last couple of weeks, and that is the fact that the world's largest video games collection was sold via auction. We talked about it. This man is actually Guinness certified as the owner of the world's largest video game collection. And he has just gotten to the point where owning this is no longer interested in him, so he put the whole thing as one gigantic piece up for sale on auction. And it includes over 11,000 unique games. It appears to include about a dozen video game systems, including, I think, 6 or 8 entire collections based on one video game system. At least one version of every game that's ever been released for it. I wonder if he has a copy of E.T. Anyway, the auction over the course of, I think, a month and a half pulled it. Was it a month and a half or a month? I think it was a month. Pulled in 56 bids, but the majority of those were between two bidders. And one of those was the final bidder, Peeps_100919970, had the winning bid at $750,250. And for winning this thing, they also get the certificate. They will be the official owner of the world's largest video game collection.
I wonder if the guy's wife, girlfriend, roommate, so on, was like, "You've got to get rid of this."
I have some mixed reactions to the person that bought the collection.
Well, I did a little bit of digging on the guy. The guy worked in a video game store for a very long time, so he would plumb bargain bins. In his spare time, he would also be on eBay, buying different versions of all these games and everything. So he literally did build this up over time. This wasn't just one of those things where one day he said, "I have to own it all." So he was just a very busy collectionist. He didn't seem to do anything wrong, but I don't know if he was bored with owning all this. I don't know if it was a girlfriend, wife, or something, but he did just one day say, "Yeah, I don't need this anymore."
No. I'm not talking about the guy
just needed the money.
I'm not talking about the guy who initially put the collection together. I'm talking about the person that bought it.
Oh, that. I don't know. For all I know, that's somebody who's just sitting in his basement with his life savings, just going, "Yes, I can finally afford a house, or I can be the envy of all my no friends." I couldn't say, because half the systems that he has, or had, I should say, I wouldn't have an interest in picking up a controller. But that's me personally, I enjoy my whatever video games I buy. I don't need a whole collection of stuff I probably will never touch.
Right.
So it's all subjective. Bungie were the people that originally put out the Halo series on Xbox.
Yep.
They have since moved on. And some people have tried out the alpha on their new shooter, Destiny.
Yeah.
They're calling it a game changer. It's apparently a shooter that involves not just run and gun tactics, but also cover and smart tactics, and you have a smart AI system. One person described that while they were shooting at a couple enemies in front of him, 2 more ran behind him and started shooting him from the other direction. So you actually have a smart AI that knows how to flank, and it will try and cover you from all sides. But the guy managed to counter because he wasn't overwhelmed. It turns out the thing he was playing was the Warlock class, which has a force push style power.
Mm-hmm.
So he, at one point, he had kind of overcharged and used on somebody who disintegrated an enemy.
Sounds interesting.
So it sounds different in everything that's going on. It's still one of those things that's an alpha, so several things can change, and that character can end up much less powerful by the time the game comes out. But there is some exclusive content for this game that will be available only on the PlayStation systems for the first 12 years of existence. including a 3-player cooperative mission called the Dust Palace Strike, an exclusive content pack, including 3 pieces of exclusive gear, 1 for each of the Warlock, Titan, and Hunter classes, and 2 weapons, the Monte Carlo Assault Rifle and the Hawk Moon Hand Cannon. Sound like 90s comic book tropes. But there's a larger beta for this game coming out on PS3 and PS4 July 17th. It's supposed to be available for purchase on September 9th for the PlayStation, Xbox 360, PS3, and Xbox One. I might have to keep an eye on my video game stores. The next one I'm going to send you a link to because it's kind of frightening. You guys have heard of the game series of Gran Turismo?
Sure.
Yeah, racing game.
Yeah. Nissan came out with a concept car for the game based on their GTR, which is like their $95,000 car. For Gran Turismo 6, they're putting out a GTR concept that looks like something Bruce Wayne would drive.
When you put some fins, and bad like spoiler, and yeah, it'll work.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to have a name besides the fact that it's a GTR concept. I'm kind of staring at it, and I'm waiting for it to transform and stand up.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. He could be sideswiped.
Well, that, or you could fit on the head of a giant robot and just storm Japan.
I need to paint it red first.
So, it's interesting that Nissan went so far as to design this thing. If I saw this in real life, that's one of those cars that I think even at my age of 37, I would stare and go, I got to get one of those. I know I'd have to sell one of the kids, but I got to get one of those.
There's that car boner.
Yeah. I know, it's banging the table and it hurts. Has anyone in this room played The Last of Us on PS3?
No.
Nope.
I've really wanted to get my hands on. Yeah, I want to get my hands on this game, but I'm still kind of waiting. I've checked several video game stores. The few that have new copies still want full price of $60 for this. So this must have some great replay value. I don't know what they want for a used because I rarely buy people's used games. You never know what entirely you're getting at that point. It's a personal feeling. I don't know how to really put it into words.
I get it.
However, yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say that there was an announcement that before the end of 2014, it looks like they're planning on coming out with the remastered version that'll come out on PS4.
Nice.
So they're going to put it out. It's going to have new graphics attached to it, and it's going to be playable in 1080p. It's also going to include the first DLC campaign edition called Left Behind. That's pretty cool. It's nice to know that there's a game out there that's strong enough that it'll bring people around to multiple systems to try it. Either try it again or try it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the release date's been given for the new Assassin's Creed 5 Unity. That was one we talked about where for the first time ever you can do co-op and campaign mode on Assassin's Creed.
There was a... I'm trying to think about the one really stylized game that I can't remember what the hell it is.
The Kardashians Take Manhattan?
I don't follow the Kardashians, no.
Well, you have to follow them because the app is big enough you can see it wherever you sit on the horizon.
I mean, I'm just used to the site. I don't know.
Well, Assassin's Creed Unity will be released on the Xbox One, PS4, and PC on October 28th. So a lot of these games that have been debuted at E3 are coming out relatively soon. You're not finding a whole lot that says, we'll release this in 2 years when we might be done with it. It's still kind of a shame that there have been no female avatars released for this game. You would think that would seal the deal in certain respects for a few gamers out there.
I was thinking there's a game that kind of poked fun at that because they have a lot of costumes you can put over you can replace their avatars with, so they went for an Assassin's Creed one on their female avatars.
Was it Bayonetta? Because I know she's dressed up like Princess Peach in Zelda in her game.
It's very very vulgar and humorous.
Okay. Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Not that vulgar.
Well, Capcom is releasing a dozen classic games for the Wii U and 3DS Virtual Consoles. for the Wii U in North America in 2014, they will re-release Breath of Fire, Demon's Crest, Mega Man 5, Mega Man 6, Mega Man 0, Mega Man Battle Network, Mega Man Battle Network Battleship Challenge, Mega Man 7, Mega Man X3, Street Fighter 2010, Mighty Final Fight, and Gargoyle's Quest 2.
Wait,
Gargoyle's Quest 2, yeah. The last three games were the only ones that Capcom hadn't released for the 3DS in North America, so those are going to be available on that little system as well. It's pretty nifty. That's a decent group of games. Although I admit, the most fun I've had on Mega Man was like Mega Man 2. It was simple, it was twitchy, and all the character designs were just kind of hilarious. Of course, that's personal standpoint.
I haven't played it, so...
Oh, okay. Well, the last bit of video games news I have is, how would you like scholarships for being really good at a game?
Yes. How about?
Well, a small private university in Chicago is offering hefty scholarships for players of one particular game, League of Legends.
Yeah.
League of Legends has become really big when it comes to team competitions and tournaments.
Yeah.
The winners of national tournaments can often win in the 7 figures for the team, which translates into the mid 6 figures for the people on them. This college, they're not advertising who it is, probably because they're seeking out League of Legends players in particular, not people who say, I can learn that. But starting this fall, the scholarships will cover up to 50% of total tuition and 50% of room and board. That's up to $19,000 per student. That's not bad, although decent League of Legends players can probably pay the entire year without really blanking.
Mm-hmm.
Even the second prize and the runner-up prizes can be rather impressive. Let's just hope this doesn't spawn a whole bunch of cheating like that Korean team we heard about. You guys remember that story where the manager was apparently told them to take dives and everything so that he can reap betting?
Oh, barely.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, just vaguely, but
it caused one of the stars of that team to attempt to commit suicide.
Ooh.
He wasn't successful, and when he woke up in the hospital, he started talking about what caused him to commit suicide, and I'm sure that manager just said, oh, shit.
There's a special place in hell for you, man.
Yeah, I know. Fixing video game tournaments. What's next? Fixing boxing? From there, we'll move into Marvel Media News, which is where we talk about the Marvel properties that are going to hit TV and internet and various other items that aren't quite comic books. The first one I have is that another trailer has been released for Guardians of the Galaxy, the full second UK trailer. This one has Gamora actually speaking in this one, instead of just swinging a sword or looking mean. You also get a couple hints as to Star-Lord's origin, and this is the first one that people have actually been complaining. This video has no 80s music behind it.
It's a shame, but I'm not going to cry foul over that.
Yeah, it actually has movie scoring behind it. Makes the whole thing seem much more serious. It's also the first one that had some serious comical interaction between the characters.
Yeah.
Star-Lord walked in on Rocket Raccoon tinkering with something. He says, wait, is that a bomb? Yeah, that's a bomb. Wait, get rid of the bomb. What's the problem? It's in a box. Get rid of it. You are such a buzzkill.
Yeah, there was a strong inclination that Rocket Raccoon was going to steal the show, but yeah, I think that seals the deal right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2-foot raccoon that carries a Gatling rifle. How could you not be entertained?
Yeah, a Gatling rifle that's bigger than he is.
Yeah.
plus
Still don't see the problem.
they got someone to play him that, for some reason, I had already been reminded of a raccoon.
Bradley Cooper reminds you of a raccoon?
It's not a negative association to me.
I'm trying to picture somebody walking up to him. Bradley, you know what you remind me of? What? A small animal that steals from my garbage cans with huge claws.
But they're also clever and mischievous.
And they wear masks. Well, as you can imagine, videos are starting to come out regarding the filming of Avengers 2. Age of Ultron. Somebody released a video from a long distance while they were filming in the UK. It appears to be Tony Stark, Captain America, and Thor walking and talking. And in the midst of it, Thor suddenly turns around, raises his hammer. You see a bunch of lighting effects go off. And then Captain America and Tony Stark walk away. People are guessing this is a moment where Thor either flies away or transports to Asgard or something.
Or he's just showing off.
They're not regarding him anymore, so I'm assuming that means he's no longer supposed to be in frame. I mean, do you guys want to see the vid?
Yeah, sure.
I will send you the link. It'll be the first item up there because they will, there are several other GIFs down below from the video. So the first picture with the play button on it, just tap that. I did watch it. It seems to be that they're being very consistent with the feel of this movie to the last one. I still remember how weird it is to stand on sets and watch things being filmed, simply because all the people in normal clothes just kind of standing around, staring in sunglasses, trying their best not to look at the actors and distract them. There's a lot of avoidance going on there simply because people are trying to be inobtrusive. But as you can see from the video, there's the people running for some reason. It looks like they're coming out of some kind of bunker. Yeah, and then there's Thor holding the hammer aloft, and then he just stands there while the others walk off. Or in this case, it looks like they're laughing at each other. I imagine it can be a little off-putting when Chris Hemsworth suddenly holds the hammer aloft. There's these flashes of light that's supposed to simulate lightning, and then he's just standing there. What do you think the people jogging are?
Probably the new S.H.I.E.L.D. setup.
I don't know about S.H.I.E.L.D. I know that part of the storylines in late Marvel is that Tony Stark was privatizing world security. There we go again with the hammer.
The internet does not want me to see this, apparently.
Okay. It's just kind of funny towards the end because he holds that hammer aloft and then he quickly walks away while everyone else is looking up. A little view behind the curtain. You saw the wizard. Mark Ruffalo had interesting news that apparently Marvel is interested for the first time since they started their universe of having a standalone Hulk film. It says, quote, "I think they are, for the first time, entertaining the idea of it. When we did the Avengers, it was basically, no! And now there's some consideration for it," unquote.
I thought there was some thought about after the first Avengers.
He said there was, although he was kind of non-committal about it because the last two Avengers movies, the last two Hulk movies have been, at best, made their money back. They haven't really been money makers or generators. After the Avengers, this is the first time the Hulk's been interesting as a character to a lot of people. Probably because it's the first time in his movies he's actually been a superhero instead of the thing everybody is chasing. All I can say is if they do a Hulk film, I think you really do have to add the She-Hulk character. And that's not because David Goyer says that she's a fuckable green prostitute. I think because she's one of the few characters that likes to be what she is.
Yeah, the Hulk character needs someone to be compared to and not just be by him, not just Banner.
He needs a Robin.
Mm-hmm.
He needs somebody to lighten the mood, but is still, on par with him. And the She-Hulk is definitely the closest to that. Definitely don't want to see the A-bomb on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
We've also had it finally confirmed that Doctor Strange is going to be leading Phase 3 of the Marvel movies. Marvel is apparently in talks with a writer and is eyeing people to play the character. There's no knowledge as to whether this movie will be based on an earlier script by Thomas Dean Donnelly and Joshua Oppenheimer. But they're reported talking... What the hell was that?
Sorry, I'm trying to fix the audio on my PC.
Okay, keep working on that. Now, Marvel apparently was talking to Scott Derrickson and they've attached him as the director. But there's a rumor on Deadline that says that Marvel's shortlist to be Doctor Strange are Tom Hardy, who played Bane in the Dark Knight Rises, Jared Leto, who was the transvestite in North Dallas 40, and is now an Oscar winner. And then the third one is one that's going to make V kind of turn over in her seat a little bit. they want Khan to play Doctor Strange as well. Benedict Cumberbatch.
Interesting. I can see that. He's certainly skinny enough for it.
What do you have to do? What do you have to do to be Sorcerer Supreme? Fit into a size 2. Wiggle your fingers at all? No. Just have to have no waist whatsoever.
Well, I guess I'm just saying that he fits my image in my head anyway.
Well, not only that, they plan on fast-tracking this film. They want production to begin early next year. So not long after this person's signed, he's going to have to clear a part of his calendar in early 2015. In a interview with Total Film, Feig said, quote, Scott Derrickson has been announced as director. Doctor Strange is a character I've been interested in for many, many years and that I've talked about in interviews for probably 14 years because I believe it's very, very important for us to explore every nook and cranny of the comic book universe. And we've done the street-level heroes, and we've done the billionaire superheroes on Earth. We've now done the cosmic side with Thor and the Avengers, and most obviously with Guardians. But there's a whole other side of Marvel Comics, which is that supernatural side, the interdimensional side of the Marvel universe. And Doctor Strange is, I believe, our entry point into that other realm, which has dozens of characters and storylines all its own. So Strange is very, very important, not just because it's an amazing character study and a journey of a man who's gone from this very arrogant surgeon to somebody who is quite zen and literally keeps all of reality together on a daily basis. But it's also going to open up a whole other side of storytelling for our movies. So we're about to hire a writer and redo a draft, and we think we'll be casting probably in the next month or two, and announcing an actor, and then we'll get into production in the spring of next year, unquote. This could make the Marvel Movies panel at Comic-Con very important if they're that close to working out who the writer is going to be and who the star is going to be. That announcement could come out at Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be of great curiosity to me, at least. Speaking of Marvel movies, Fox is plunging forward with the Apocalypse movie, and it's been announced that this one will be set in the year 1983. So it appears that ever since they've restarted the X-Men movies with First Class, they're doing 10-year jumps in each successive film. I think the First Class was 1963, Days of Futures Past was 1973 for the main part of the movie anyway, and Apocalypse is going to be in 1983. If it's in 83, that could technically mean they could cast young versions of Cyclops and Jean Grey in this film. Could they not?
I should have sworn I saw a little redheaded girl in the last movie. So
I did not myself. Oh wait, yeah.
No, you're thinking about the Scarlet Witch.
No, she's right. There was a young redheaded girl in the park when the stadium was floating overhead.
Yes, that's what I mean. I know it's a brief glimpse, but
no, that's
I
actually
what you're saying.
those brief glimpses could be quite important, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I was going back to our previous discussion where I was kind of disappointed when Wolverine went back to the altered future and everything is all happy and zen. Cyclops and Jean Grey were alive. I was looking for like a 5-year-old redhead to go running across the screen at that point. I was looking for Rachel Grey. You know what I mean? So when you said there was a redhead, I'm like, wait, no, there wasn't. Oh, that one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
We've also been talking in Marvel Comics news about the Spider-Verse. How there's going to be Spider-Man from all different dimensions apparently showing up in the Amazing Spider-Man comic for some kind of event. Well, that's not only hitting comics. The Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon series is having their version of Spider-Verse happen. The storyline is going to be called Ultimate Spider-Man Web Warriors. But in addition to this event, it's also going to see Spider-Man officially become an Avenger in that series.
I hope it's like, a 2 or 3 episode event.
Maybe more than that, because it's going to see guest stars like Cloak and Dagger, Kazar from the Savage Land, Amadeus Cho as the Iron Spider, and Agent Venom.
Agent Venom?
Yeah. That's supposed to be Flash Thompson.
Flash Thompson joined the military, and as an experiment, they gave him the Venom symbiote.
Gotcha.
And after losing both his legs.
Yeah. That also means that in this event will also appear Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Girl, Miles Morales, and the Spider-Ham.
The Spider-Ham?
Yeah, that is not a butterball ham just hopping around with a mask on. It is it's an anthropomorphic universe where Spider-Ham is Peter Porker in real life.
Peter... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In the 80s, Marvel had this entire anthropomorphic universe, which was just kind of a joke on its own. And it's not a big thing nowadays, but certain in-jokes keep reappearing, and Spider-Ham is one of the more popular ones. I have a feeling I should move on before her brain explodes. Daredevil casting is starting to eke out. We learned Charlie Cox is Daredevil. We learned Vincent D'Onofrio is going to be the Kingpin. Well, now we have somebody else that's been officially attached to the project, and they won't tell us what the hell she is. Rosario Dawson has now been attached to the Daredevil series. She is not entirely new to comic book movies, since she was one of the characters in the original Sin City film. She's also going to be reprising that role in Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. The quote in the presser by Marvel, or by Jeff Loeb, which is the head of their television, is, quote, Rosario Dawson is one of the most charismatic, talented, and powerful actresses in Hollywood, so she was always at the top of our list for Marvel's Daredevil. Her role in the series is absolutely critical to Matt Murdock's journey to become the hero we know as Daredevil, unquote. Any guesses as to what she could be in this series?
Well, I'm out.
I have no idea.
Well, I mean, when you think Daredevil and strong female characters, the first name that generally comes to mind is Elektra.
Yeah, exactly.
And while Dawson is definitely more fitted to the role than Jennifer Garner ever could be, I don't quite see her doing that.
Yeah.
Some of the things brought up by Screen Rant is that she could be, Matt Murdock's on-again, off-again love interest Karen Page. She could play Typhoid Mary, or she could be another hero in the Marvel, well, not hero, character in the Marvel Universe, who is a deaf woman with Taskmaster-type powers called Echo. Her name is Maya Lopez. I gotta admit, all those are good possibilities. It's definitely much more likely than her being Elektra.
And then they surprise us all.
She's gonna be Daredevil.
Gender bender. Isn't there a character that can do magic like that? Of X-Men or something? I don't know.
Well, I mean, there is the character of Magic on X-Men. There's the character named Magic.
Is that an appropriate name for this character?
Well, it is a little on the nose, I admit. But I do not know. I have a feeling that you're right. There's magic occasionally interfixed in Daredevil's universe, but they're probably not going to go for that for the TV series.
Oh, no.
Well, Netflix series, I should say. They're probably going to look for something a little more streamlined, because they got to be able to tell this story with 3 other characters that aren't very well known for magic. If that explanation makes any sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's new details on the Ant-Man movie, actually. They've recently attached 2 new actors to it, Patrick Wilson and Corey Stoll. Corey Stoll, who's been in House of Cards, will reportedly be a classic Ant-Man villain named Darren Cross. That's who Corey Stoll will be. Patrick Wilson will be playing his cousin, who's known as a kind of a C-list Marvel villain called Crossfire. Whether or not he will be Crossfire in the movie and just the playing character is unknown at this point. So it looks like we've added the movie villains to this. But there's also something else to consider that was brought up by CinemaBlend.com, is that William Cross, who became Crossfire, was a mercenary who also had several run-ins with another character called Mark Spector, a.k.a. the Moon Knight. So people are wondering if the Moon Knight may happen to make an appearance in the Ant-Man movie.
There might be a name drop, but...
Yeah, I kind of think if you're going to go for this comedic route, I don't know if you want a schizophrenic mercenary as part of your roster.
No, you guys...
You get what? What? Jesse, did you break? What happened?
I was saying, no.
You said you get and suddenly stop speaking. I didn't know if your mainspring had wound down or something.
No. Yeah, you said no. You got Deadpool for that.
Oh, okay. Well, we've seen Ben Affleck walking around with his new body. It's been no secret that he started a workout routine several weeks before he was announced as Batman, I think late last year. If you follow the link, you'll see that he has actually worked a lot on his upper body. He's looking more like it, although the T-shirt makes it still kind of hard to tell. The way this thing looks in the pictures, it looks like he still has a bit of a belly going on there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you might have a bit of a belly depending on how you work your stomach muscles and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people are just going to look at that and say he's too fat to be Batman, but I guess people keep forgetting what wonders Hollywood and their makeup and costumes can do to people.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure Michael Keaton never worked out that hard when he played Batman, and he sure as hell looked like the Bat in that suit.
I think it's more the suit than him.
I realize that. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So, you know how it is. People just they pick the stupidest things to harp on, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
This is just going to be more fodder for that. Although, somebody stopped Daniel Radcliffe, and he mentioned he would like to play the Robin to Ben Affleck's Batman. Now, obvious gay innuendo aside, somebody asked, or he mentioned that, and he said, if they reboot that again, I'd do that too. It's happening, isn't it, with Ben Affleck? I can be Robin. I'm perfect, unquote. I don't know if he's joking. I really don't know if he's just having fun with that. The question I have to ask is, if he's aware that since this script seems to be based on The Dark Knight Rises, that particular Robin was a girl. I just want to know. So, you know, take it as you will. It could be a joke. You may not know much about comics. It could be some kind of faux pas. Or is Daniel Radcliffe trying to give us signs that he's coming out of the closet?
Or he's just joking.
Is Harry Potter swinging his wand the other way? The CW's Arrow is going on to season 3. They're supposedly looking for a quartet of new returning characters for the 3rd season. 2 characters named Toshi and Akiko, which figure into Oliver Queen's Hong Kong-based flashbacks. And they're also looking at hiring somebody that's going to play a hero and friend for the hero named Felicity. And so a new chemistry-using villain named Seth, who uses a drug to drain willpower.
Interesting.
You know, I don't watch the series. If you ask me what a drug to drain willpower is, I would argue that that's the Arrow TV series.
I have no idea what that would entail or what.
I don't know, but the series has always been very loosely based on DC canon, if at all. So all these could be brand new original characters for all I know.
They seem to stick around with at least something that has existed.
That's true. If you think the Batman v Superman film seems awfully busy with the word that they've cast Cyborg, and they've cast Aquaman, and they've cast all these other, they've cast Wonder Woman, and all these other side characters and things going on. Well, things are about to get a little busier because apparently they've recently filmed a robbery scene for Dawn of Justice. And in this sequence, it looks like the Flash came running through. The robbery was stopped by somebody that's supposed to run through as a gigantic red flash. A lot of people assume that's Superman in his cape. Apparently, Superman was busy at another point, and somebody else stopped the robbery. So the list of DC characters that could do that, rather minuscule.
Like 1. Maybe 2.
Depending on the timeline you're talking about, it could be as many as 4. But they're all flashes of one sort or another.
I don't know. I think Shazam could get away with it.
Oh, that could be as well. So there's all kinds of possibilities as to what this could be. I wonder how hard that is to pretend that you're robbing something and suddenly, you pretend that this red flash came through and knocked you out.
Yeah,
Throw yourself backwards.
wire and pulley system can do it for you.
I'm not sure I want to be yanked around by anybody. And did you see the latest Gotham trailer for the TV series?
No,
No.
not really. I've kind of lost interest.
Oh, I will send you the link to the IO9 story because the trailer is actually very short. It's only about, I think, a minute and a half. I'm not sure who's supposed to be narrating it, but it's basically examples of the pre-Batman versions of Catwoman and the Penguin, as well as a close-up on Fish Mooney. Fish Moon. Still can't say that and have it sound
That's fine.
intimidating. I can't help it. But it's pretty short, and it's I don't know. I'm still not getting from the visuals of who these characters are supposed to end up as. You know what I mean?
They all got their start in this city.
It's one of those things that's not entirely obvious. The lady that hired to be Selena Kyle, I don't see how she's going to turn into the Catwoman. I guess I have to see more video. The guy they've hired that's going to be Penguin, when I first saw the video, I'm like, wait, is that Riddler? No. Okay, Umbrellas. No, that's not him. And then there's Fish Mooney, who doesn't fit into anything.
Yeah, that.
From the
Trailer
sounds, it
does not
seems like
fit
the narrating voice might be Gordon.
Well, probably. It's not going to be the 12-year-old Bruce Wayne. V, what did you say?
I said the trailer doesn't titillate me.
Not entirely me either. I'm starting to... I know the early reviews on screeners they did were pretty positive. I'm starting to wonder where those screeners were. Did they screen these at a bunch of comic book conventions? Because those were all very positive words that we read on a series that hasn't come out, and so far it seems to be written almost exclusively for people who are Batman fans already. So I'm a little... not put out. I guess I'm just turning kind of skeptical on it.
I'll watch it, give it a try, but I'm not having high hopes.
Yeah. Well, we have general media news about all kinds of things that are nerdy and comic book related, but don't entirely fall into the categories of the big two companies. The first one is kind of a biggie. The E3 convention wants to get the hell out of Los Angeles. They've been in Los Angeles for as long as I can remember. And 2015, the next year, may be their last year. That's not because the city has done anything necessarily wrong. The problem, according to the ESA boss, Mike Gallagher, who helps run the convention, the LA Convention Center, well, let me just read the quote. E3 is a world-class show that deserves a world-class venue. The Los Angeles Convention Center is no longer a top-tier priority, unquote. So according to him, the LA Convention Center is not a very good place to do this anymore. Quote, the time to make this decision is relatively short. We'll consider all cities that can improve the experience, unquote. That makes it sound like that LA is just not in the running, period. I know that they signed an extension last time this came up because at the time AEG was trying to put up that stadium, which would have meant changing the configuration of the convention center and probably a chance to do some necessary upgrades. But that deal has kind of fallen flat, so I don't think there's any plans on the horizon to upgrade the facility. If memory serves, this building was built in the mid to late 80s, and the fixtures in it are relatively old. So when you have a convention that comes through that is all about technology, and a bunch of people who are obviously blogging at lightning speed trying to get information out as fast as possible, yeah, I could see the LA Convention Center as being kind of a dinosaur by comparison. Somebody also cited that the layout is a problem. It has two halls that are connected by a bridge over a street. So to see everything, you have to walk like a full block several times back and forth to get anything done in the convention. Assuming you're using the entire convention center anyway.
Mm.
So I can see where E3 is coming from. I don't want to see them move, but I get it. And if E3 goes, goodness knows what other shows might second guess what they're doing in the convention center, including like major car shows and such.
Ooh.
It's true. This is news that kind of threw me sideways. The Powerpuff Girls are coming back in 2016.
I heard about that one a couple days ago. I'm like, Why?
Well, because in his day, the Powerpuff Girls won a couple primetime Emmys. And Rob Scorcher from the Cartoon Network, who's the chief content officer, said, quote, "The original Powerpuff Girls was a franchise phenomenon for Cartoon Network, paving the way for a new generation of innovative storytellers and enthusiastic fans worldwide. We're calling these girls back into action based upon an overwhelming demand for sugar, spice, and chemical X," unquote.
Okay.
Okay, I really have no problem with it, but I don't know.
Well, let me put it this way, and I think this is going to simplify the connection for you. Would you rather watch this show with or without the original voice actresses, a rebooted version of this show return, or would you rather sit down and watch a few episodes of Clarence in Adventure Time? Put the whole thing into a whole new light, doesn't it? Hello, Bueller? You know, you need to answer the question. Which would you rather do?
Can I choose option C?
No, you cannot masturbate for 3 hours. You know, I think that's a smart idea. It's still one of those things that it's a recognized brand. I see costumes of it on a regular basis in the convention circuits. It obviously still has a fan base.
Yeah.
You know, I see more cosplayers of the Powerpuff Girls, frankly, than I see of Adventure Time. And Clarence, I've tried watching a couple episodes. That is just ridiculously stupid.
Clarence? Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a new show that came out this season on Cartoon Network, and it's literally about a child that is so ridiculous. He sounds like he has special needs, and his quasi-adventures, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, that does sound stupid. Adventure Time is at least post-apocalyptic and loreful.
So you say.
It is.
It is. It's been established in this show.
Okay. I have not watched a single episode of it. About 5 minutes is all I need before I want to break my television.
Yeah, I've not watched a single episode either. I just see it, stuff on YouTube.
Okay. Well, George R.R. Martin is... Oh, wait a sec. Oh, okay. Remember we talked about George R.R. Martin and the crowdfunder he's involved with in the Wolf Sanctuary?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the new character that's going to be put in his book is going to be named after Dr. David Cotton. He's the CEO of Meridian Health Plan. It's a health insurance company in Michigan. Cotton's family has supported the Detroit Zoo's wolf habitat, and it turns out that his 3 sons knew about his affinity for wolves and for George R.R. Martin's books, so they're the ones that put up the $20,000 to put their father in the book. It was a gift.
Nice.
Aw, that's so sweet.
You know, quote, "We saw this crowdfunding come up online, and we thought it would be perfect for his love of wolves," his son Mike said. His brother Sean is an administrative officer at the family-owned company and says his father loves the books and watches the HBO series, quote, "avidly," quote. So the one he's going to be sharing this with is Dave Goldblatt, who's a 30-year-old Facebook employee from San Francisco, California. Goldblatt chose to be a Valerian, one of the people known for their indestructible steel.
Ooh,
so
that's actually... That indicates we're going to see Valeria, or a Valerian.
Well, remember, this is going to be a character written into the book. So, I don't know what possible role this is. Oh, we talked before about Harrison Ford and his unfortunate injury at the hands of the Millennium Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Chewie may have pushed a button at the wrong time and just put the foot down, or put the door down on his foot. Well, Harrison Ford is out of filming for 2 months.
That sucks.
Yep.
For him.
Yeah. He's unavailable for the next 2 months of filming while he's rehabbing that foot and having all kinds of gear put in it.
Yeah, he's what, 80?
72. There was apparently hydraulics on the door. It was not a pulley system, but the hydraulics just had a catastrophic failure and it came crashing down on his foot.
Ow.
I've seen some people online who just said, well, maybe this will show Disney that they can't hire J.J. Abrams for this. And my first response is, what the fuck does he have to do with this?
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I think this.
I'm sure that J.J. Abrams, when he was hired as director, he said, "Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is build hydraulics and doors."
I'm taking this more as more of a sign for Harrison Ford to, kind of retire.
I don't
I'm
think
not
he's gonna
saying
have
he's
much
bad.
choice.
I'm saying he's getting old.
Well, he is getting old, and this kind of injury, he's going to have a permanent limp. You know, assuming he doesn't have a cane for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
If he was sure, then yeah, he could probably bounce back with some rehab and probably get everything back. But he's 72. You know, nothing heals like it used to.
Mm-hmm.
So-
I never got the impression that he or at least I sort of assumed he probably didn't really want to do this active of a film again.
I don't think he wanted to do this particular film, but I'm sure the money was just too good to pass up.
Exactly. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
he's doing it because he wants to.
No, I shot a bunch of aliens, and people are probably looking for me, and I don't want to do this anymore.
Here's a fat check.
Engage a hyperdrive, Chewie. Well, speaking of the new Star Wars films, episodes 8 and 9 are not going to be done by J.J. Abrams. Disney has announced that Looper director Rian Johnson and the director of Brick is going to be directing both episodes 8 and 9.
Okay.
I really don't have much to expand on besides that. You know, Abrams is apparently working on this movie, but for some reason they've signed Rian Johnson to work on 8 and 9. I don't know if that's a statement of problems with Abrams, or if this is just Disney trying to keep the ball rolling as quickly as possible.
Maybe Abrams has other commitments coming up.
It could be. Another story I read, and I don't have a link to it, did note that there were... Remember, we talked about the rumors about 6 months ago where Abrams was unhappy and threatened to quit the project?
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a side effect of that. Maybe Disney just said, okay, don't want to go through that again, find me somebody.
Or maybe he decided not to go any further.
It could be. But either way, he will only be involved in episode 7, and after that, it's Rian Johnson's turn. V, would you watch a new Star Trek series?
Yes.
What was the hesitation?
The last new series that came out was disappointing.
Okay. Well,
so I would watch it, but I would have to reserve hope until I had seen like a whole season.
Okay. Well, the reason why I ask is because Netflix has put out feelers to CBS, a company that with Viacom owns a right to the Star Trek franchise, and they want to create an original content Star Trek series for Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, CBS and Viacom are notoriously unwilling to compromise on shared projects, so this is turning into a bit of a problem, especially since Viacom prefers to work with Amazon and their streaming service, Hulu, while CBS seems to like Netflix.
That's problematic.
Yeah. So there may be some difficulties in trying to put out a new series.
Yeah.
But it is something to keep an ear to the ground for, because they could work out a deal. Netflix has been getting some pretty good ratings on their original stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Star Wars, I almost forgot that there's a possible new villain that may have surfaced.
Really?
There's word that in this movie there will be something new called Jedi Hunters. They're new troopers that are said to be characterized by black and chrome, with troopers in similar black and chrome outfits. They're very imperial, but very, very new. My sense is these guys are like General Grievous Magna Guards from Revenge of the Sith. They may also be known as Inquisitors.
I like that idea better.
Supposedly, the 2 new actors have been hired to play these roles. I don't have the information here. I thought I did. But they did recently attach 2 other actors to the movie. So that could be what this is all about. Also, the new Avatar sequels are going to require big effects and big budgets. Does that fit under duh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I mean, the first Avatar movie, like I said, it wasn't anything new as far as story. As far as visual storytelling, it was pretty groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Their use of motion capture was top rate. They figured out how to tell a pretty compelling story, almost entirely digitally, that didn't feel overpowering like the Star Wars prequels did.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed Avatar because of the cinematics.
Yeah, I saw it in 3D. I took a chance on the 3D tech. And I gotta admit, the 3D was awesome in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Which is very rare for a movie.
I know. It's one of the few times where the 3D wasn't used to just, throw a rubber ball in my face or make me try and jump. Cameron figured out how to use it so you felt like you were sitting in the room watching these people walk back and forth. And that was the best part.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he's going to need more money to make these movies, I don't know how anyone's surprised. And speaking of big budgets and confusion, there's a picture that was released of Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they've released a high-def version of the new Shredder.
Yeah.
V, have you seen what this looks like?
No.
I saw it, and my first response, frankly, was, I think it's Optimus Prime. It looks like somebody in power armor, and he raided a Ginsu knife factory. I sent you the link. You can take a look. It doesn't intimidate me as much as something, walking with this on their hands would. I literally just stare at it, and I think my first reaction would be, really? You went with this?
I don't see Optimus Prime right away. Well, I do. Because
I see Transformer at least.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I actually saw a toy review on him. And I said, the toy looks interesting. And then I saw it, oh, God.
I mean, the longer I look at this, I can almost hear that narration. So, this is my first Wolverine costume. What do you think?
Try harder.
I do have some information regarding the Heroes Reborn series that's coming to the internet. Or not the internet, I'm sorry. NBC is doing a 13-episode mini-series called Heroes Reborn. There is one character that is returning.
HRG!
Yep, Noah Bennett is reprising his role reprising his particular role in the series. Nobody knows if it's going to be a cameo or if it's a regular role.
I'm just happy. HRG was one of my favorites.
Well, there was also other news that came with that, in that Zachary Quinto and Milo Ventimiglia were both approached regarding the series. Milo Ventimiglia is apparently uninterested in reprising his role as Peter.
Oh.
Zachary Quinto is apparently too busy to reprise his role as Sylar.
That's good. I mean, I liked Sylar, but I think they explored him sufficiently. Unless they're going to get a new actor to play him.
Ali Larder spoke at some length, but the way she phrased her words make it sound like she wasn't interested in getting back to her roles in the series either.
Oh, that's a shame. I really liked the Ice Woman.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would use this as an opportunity, frankly, to wipe the slate with this continuity, because they really hammered the dozen or so characters from the first 3 seasons into the fucking dirt.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there are things that could be done, but especially like the cheerleader doesn't need to be. Well, I mean, she doesn't. I don't need to think we need to see her again, but.
Well, there was a lot of things that could have been done with each of those characters if you actually spent some time focusing on it, but they spent so much time with multi-tiered storytelling, and then the most infuriating thing was between each season, they seemed to use the chance to hit the reset button on half of them and put them back to where they started from.
Yeah, that was a little bit frustrating.
So I would use this as a full opportunity that if the guy playing Noah Bennett was the only one I could get back, fine. It's time for a whole new group of stories, whole new group of characters. Maybe some not quite as
overpowered.
Yeah.
Well, the only two that were really, truly overpowered were Peter and Sylar.
No, I would add Hero to that list as well.
As I was saying that, I was thinking, well, maybe Hero too.
Yeah. And then there were other characters that had that ignominious death off screen, like the guy that played Ali Larter's husband.
Yeah, I can't remember his character or name.
The Phaser. And then there was their child who was also overpowered, the Technomancer.
Oh, yeah. Only
So
overpowered in this society?
I have some kind of sideways information here. Has anyone besides me seen The Raid Redemption?
No.
Oh,
I've
what?
heard of it.
The Raid Redemption. It was this Thai film that was really freaky about a bunch of special ops policemen who were sent into an apartment complex to arrest a drug lord. Turned out the drug lord was running the entire place, and they locked the doors so that these guys were all trapped inside, and he offered a bounty. You know, people could stay in that building for free and do whatever they wanted if they killed the cops. So they were dealing with an entire building full of people just out to murder them. It turns out this movie is getting a U.S. remake. The reason why I bring this up is not because the movie in itself is geeky, but one of the actors attached to it is. Frank Grillo has been added to the cast for The Raid Redemption, the U.S. version. You may not recognize that name because most of you will know him as the guy who played Brock Rumlow in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Huh.
I still haven't seen that. Damn.
Well, he's going to turn into the villain Crossbones. So this guy was very prominent in The Winter Soldier, too. He had a lot of screen time. He wasn't just a toss-away character. So it's one of those things to look out for. And if the Raid Redemption is remade for the U.S., it may not be as hyper-violent. There's probably going to be more explosions, though.
Because we love explosions. I love explosions.
Yeah, you know, nothing is destroyed unless it's on fire. Has anyone ever watched Danger Mouse?
Yes.
No. Nope.
Danger Mouse is getting rebooted.
Yeah, saw that.
The CBBC. This is an English property about a mouse who's a super spy. Literally, it ran from 1981 to 1992. It had a decent 11-year run. Even ran for a little while on Nickelodeon.
Yep.
It's getting a reboot. They're going to air a new series in 2015 based on the property.
Maybe they could be consistent with his actual size.
I don't know anything about that. I admit, when I was watching the series, I liked the car.
Yeah, me too.
You know, that yellow car was goddamn nifty. You know, but they apparently are going to have several of the enemies that are coming back for the series, including Duckula.
Duckula?
Duckula.
It is what it sounds like.
A vampire duck?
Yes.
Oh my god, I have to see this.
What was the primary enemy that was running through that series? Was it Count Toad?
I don't remember. I just remember the mouse, the sidekick, and the car.
I remember the asthmatic frog. I think his name was Count Toad or something of that nature. Or Mr. Toad, something like that. Anyway, it's coming back, and this is one of those cartoons that if it's anything like the original, I would feel fully confident about sitting down my kids and say, check this out. There's new information regarding Jupiter Ascending. Remember, that's the movie that was delayed from July of this year to February of next year.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
There wasn't a whole lot of information when they did it. Now, the early information said that there was some kind of problem with the effects, that they had to fix a bunch of stuff in post, and that's why they had the 7-month delay. There's new information that says that this movie that took $175 million to make may have sucked.
Oh.
Early test screenings apparently came in very low. And this was only in late April that this problem arose, apparently. There was also the idea that the visual effects, which this movie does rely heavily on, were incomplete as well. So it may have been partial truth when they said that the effects were the problem. Turns out the problem may be the movie. You know, as much as I have respect for Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum, I got to admit, when I saw the trailer for this, I kind of saw and went, it feels like Masters of the Universe to me. Whole lot of flash, nothing I want to carry with me.
I still haven't seen a trailer for that yet.
I'm sure it's still online. How's this for general media news? Disney has been hit with a potential class action lawsuit by a former employee.
Oh boy.
A former theme park employee. The person who brought this up was Raquel Zorio, who apparently worked for the park for some time. And the attorney representing him is seeking class action status because this may involve over 500 people. He's only seeking $75,000 by himself, but the class action may push up to this 32 million figure, or 37 million. The claim is in regards to what he says was unpaid vacation time and a few other things that were not paid according to labor laws. The suit is for unpaid vacation, unpaid wages, and other monies. Now, I almost wonder how far this will get, because even if they get class action status and this turns into a 37 million case, based on what Disney has pulled in with Star Wars and Marvel, that's not exactly a big bill for them.
It's true.
So I almost wonder how far this got, because even if it's a justified case, you almost wonder if they would say, okay, look, stop the suit and we'll pay it. It almost seemed like a pretty simple decision to me at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
V, new news for you. Star Trek 3 has a release date in 2016.
Oh, goody.
So it appears they're moving forward fairly briskly. They haven't given an exact date, but definitely in 2016. There might be the reason for that, because this would coincide with the 50th anniversary of the original Star Trek.
Nice. I want to see this. I want to see it.
Well, I mean, there's still some concerns about it, because remember, Abrams is off and Roberto Orta is by himself working on it.
Well, that might make it better. Who knows?
There is that possibility. I'm just saying, be careful. Because it's like Arkham Origins. It still turned out to be an okay game, just not quite the same as when Rocksteady was running shit. And the last bit of general media news I have is that Viacom lost a bid to dismiss Cablevision bundling lawsuit. This could affect a lot of things we deal with, because what Cablevision did was they sued Viacom under antitrust rules, and they won the decision. They sued Viacom under the basis that they thought it was unfair that to get 4 to 8 core networks from Viacom, including things like CBS and Showtime and a few others, that they had to pick up 8 networks that were low rated and they didn't want. In other words, they challenged the bundling contract deals that a lot of networks use. If you want HBO, then you have to take Bravo and shit like that. So there is a judge that ruled that Cablevision can't do that. Now you can bet that there's an appeal coming pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
And obviously the decision from Manhattan U.S. District Judge Laura Taylor is being upheld while that appeal is likely to come. So it causes a question. If this actually goes the way of other recent suits of this nature, and it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, which either doesn't hear it or may uphold it, if this occurs, does this mean that my amount of cable channels will be slimmed down by probably half to a third, but they may actually be stations I want to watch?
That would be nice.
Yeah, that might make me actually buy cable.
The a la carte networks may be more expensive than the bundled ones individually, but I would rather pay a $50 for HBO and Fox and maybe FX network rather than pay $100 for 3 times as many channels
that you're not going to watch.
Yeah, 2/3 of which I'll never turn on. Not ever. Goodness knows, if I could find a way to get rid of Bravo and E, I will do it. We will move into Marvel comic news. The first one I got is that 2 workers from DC Comics have moved over to Marvel. Katie Kubert used to be the editor of Batman, Detective, and Batman Eternal, and she's out of DC Comics as of last Friday, or this past Friday. Huh. She spent 5 years there as an editor. She's also Katie Kubert is also part of the legendary comic book Kubert family that includes Joe Kubert, Adam Kubert, and Andy Kubert. Valiant is also the DC assistant editor, Kyle Andrukowitz, has joined Marvel as an assistant editor. He used to work on titles like The Movement and Animal Man and the New 52 Future's End, which is just coming out. So they got guys that are working on major projects now that are apparently leaving. Now, this may not have to do with job satisfaction like a lot of people are assuming. I'm not bashing. Part of this has to do with the fact that DC this year is finalizing their move from New York to Burbank.
Right.
Yeah, their comic book divisions is changing coast, and a lot of people may be trying to just stay in New York, and there's only one other major comic book company to work for.
Mm.
So, it's just one of those side effects when you do something like this. Not everybody's going to want to change New York for California. Much as I like it here, I can agree that there's several people that just have their preferences. Speaking of moves within Marvel, C.B. Cebulski, we talked about how he is no longer their talent scout. We were trying to figure out what job he was going to take because he was taking something else in the Marvel Disney conglomerate. Well, he now has the job title of Senior Vice President of International Business Development and Brand Management.
Okay.
I don't entirely know what that title means, but it does sound similar to what we were discussing when maybe Cebulski's going to be in charge of finding talent to do the Marvel movies instead of just the comic books. He may have more of a role of trying to find people to keep that consistent. They're moving over Jeannie Schaefer into his former job of talent scout, and she's had books under her watch like Wolverine, X-Men, She-Hulk, Cyclops, and Savage Wolverine. So sounds like a lady that can do the job. Remember last week we were talking about Axis, the new Marvel event coming, where the Red Skull powered, the Xavier-powered Red Skull is gathering villains, so heroes gather on the other side. We talked about how they asked Rick Remender, who is working on this event, and the formulation of the Red Skull's plan in the Uncanny Avengers, and he said, quote, "I'm itching for people to see what we've been up to. Tom first brought up the idea of using Onslaught, and at first I was kind of hesitant, but once I sat on it and realized the possibilities with Red Skull having those powers, we originally built it up as a B story that would percolate, and fast forward to now, we've excited about how it's developed," unquote. It's another example of a long-term plan, I guess, coming to fruition. I wonder how this is going to pan out. Well, it's adding a lot of stories here that could change how characters see things. For example, part of the Axis picture shows that Loki is on the side of the Red Skull, although Loki lately has been kind of an anti-hero in comics. The popularity of the character due to the movies is just kind of ballooned, so they try to figure out a new role for him.
He might be playing his cards to get the upper hand in the situation, whether it be for his own ends or for the greater good. I don't know.
Well, Loki is definitely more of an anti-hero. He's still dealing with the fact that his prior version in comics was not very well liked and was a definitive supervillain. So he tends to do things on the fly that are for the right reasons, but he uses his reputation often to manipulate low-level villains into doing what he wants. But I found out that in the storyline of his own comic recently, he found out that his future may already be written where his villainous side reasserts itself, so he may be fighting to try and figure out how to stop that.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting story.
It could be one of the better gems to come out of this storyline, that weird personal struggle. But somebody else on Newsarama brought up a story idea that I hadn't thought about this. Now, we all know this centers on the Red Skull, who took Xavier's body, took out sections of his brain and put it in himself to gain these powers. Mm-hmm. I had never thought about what Magneto's reaction to this might be.
You know what? Now I think about it, he might be rather pissed.
Well, there's several levels to this that it was brought up, and I'm going to explain this to you about how this could end up being very personal. Okay? First of all, there's the knowledge that Xavier, regardless of what they think of each other, has been his best friend forever.
Yeah.
Right? Ever since they started fighting for mutant rights, difference of opinion aside, they've always liked and respected each other.
Mm-hmm.
Add into that the Red Skull is a Nazi, and Magneto was in the concentration camps. He's Jewish.
Yeah, no, we've seen that note established.
Okay. Now there's a third section to this that's going to make this worse. V, are you following along okay?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, here's the third part of this. The Red Skull has made his base on Genosha.
Oh.
Genosha was an island of people that enslaved mutants and used them kind of like tools. Magneto freed it and turned it into a mutant utopia before it was wiped out in a Sentinel attack.
Basically, Genosha was, the mutant equivalent to an internment camp.
Yeah, and then it was turned into the place where mutants could live free, a separate nation that was destroyed. Now, here's the fourth part of this. It's going to make this highly personal Magneto. Genosha has been turned into a mutant internment camp by the Red Skull. So, you can see how this character is probably going to have next-level rage when it comes to this storyline.
No, it's going to be a cold rage that this... It's not going to be a blinding rage. Magneto knows what he wants to do.
Oh, yeah, but this is also a lower-powered Magneto. This is a guy that has to work smarter rather than just come in a flash and rip everything apart.
Honestly, if he still could just tear out big chunks, I think that's all he really needs.
Conceivably. But you can bet that Magneto's probably going to have a pretty good role in Axis. And I have another story here that says that Rob Liefeld was kind of right. Remember he posted those weird Twitter rants and was accusing Marvel of trying to tank the Fantastic Four in comics so that the movie wouldn't be any good?
Uh-huh.
Okay. He was kind of right because Marvel announced this week that they're ending the Fantastic Four. They're ending the Ultimate Fantastic Four.
Oh.
They're ending their Elseworld versions with issue 6. Apparently it's just not selling well. As far as I know, neither is most of them in the Ultimate Universe, but that's a whole other story. So does this mean we owe Rob Liefeld an apology? Nah, he's still fucking crazy. You sound like you have something you want to say.
I know, I'm just thinking about the Ultimate Fantastic Four and what little I know about it, and it's like, well,
the Ultimate Fantastic Four is very drastically changed from what you know. Reed Richards is dead. I think Johnny Storm is dead. I don't know where the Thing is in their universe. But this Fantastic Four is led by Susan Storm, and it's comprised of Tony Stark, the Falcon, and Machine Man.
And all I know is the Ultimate Universe is very grim and gritty. And people stay dead.
Yeah, it's a universe where death means you are gone. You know, they've lost like most of the premier X-Men. They've lost most of the more notable heroes. They recently killed Captain America in there. So there's a whole bunch of change that came through.
I thought it was very interesting how they managed to kill Wolverine off.
I clapped. I have something different for you here. And this is the last part of Marvel comic news because it is Marvel comic related. George R.R. Martin ended up in a Marvel comic.
Really?
It's not quite how you think. He was in a comic book in 1963 in an issue of Fantastic Four in the letters section.
Really?
Yes. And he admitted in an interview that this was his letter. He wrote this to Marvel Comics. Quote, "Dear Stan and Jack," in other words, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, "Fantastic Four 17 was greater than great. Even now I sit in awe of it, trying to do the impossible. That is, describe it. It was absolutely stupendous. The ultimate utmost. I cannot fathom how you could fit so much action in so few pages. It will live forever as one of the greatest Fantastic Four comics ever printed. Ergo, as one of the greatest of all comics. In what other comic mag can you see things like a hero falling down a manhole, a heroine mistaking a toy inventor for a criminal, and the president of the USA leaving a conference that may determine the fate of the world to put his daughter to bed? The epic story, spectacular and exciting as it is not all that made this mag so great. The letter column was top-notch too. I nearly died when I saw Paul Gambitti's letter. Gambitini's. You really made him change his tune. That letter was a far cry from the one that was printed in Fantastic Four 9. Then there's your comic cover, the world's greatest comic magazine. Brilliant! You were just about the world's worst mag when you started, but you set yourself an ideal, and by gumbo, you've achieved it. More than achieved it, in fact. If you were only half as good as you are now, you'd still be the world's best mag. Signed, George R. Martin, 35 East 1st Street, Bayonne, New Jersey. The editor responded with, quote, "We might as well quit while we're ahead. Thanks for your kind words, George. And now it's time for our favorite department where we talk to you straight from the shoulder," unquote. George R. R. Martin geeked out on comics, and reading it, it has the same kind of expanded wordplay that Martin is pretty well famous for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many kids, even in 1963, would use words like ergo?
I would.
stupendous. God, man.
Wait,
It's
how
funny to see
old
that-
was he at this point in time?
I have no idea how old he is now.
Okay, well, fair. When was this?
1963.
Ah.
It was. He wrote it in regards to Fantastic Four 17 of the original run. Okay, he was. George R. R. Martin was born in 1948, so he would have been 15 at the time he wrote this. That's weird to get such a window into the past.
Mm-hmm.
I only have one piece of DC comic news. There really wasn't a whole lot that came out this week for I have no idea what reasons. Considering it's Batman's 75th anniversary, you'd think they'd be going crazy, right? But instead, all I have is the fact that Jim Lee drew a picture of Batman for the souvenir book for the upcoming San Diego Comic-Con. It's a book that's being given to everybody that attends, a 224-page full-color trade paperback given to all Comic-Con attendees while supplies last.
Cool.
Nifty.
So I guess that means, if I show up early enough, I'm getting me a souvenir book with Jim Lee on the cover. And I only have one piece of general comic news. Quentin Tarantino is making a comic book.
He is?
Yeah, he's making a crossover comic. Django Unchained / Zorro.
I am mildly interested.
It's being done by Dynamite Comics teaming up with DC Comics to bring these two together. And Tarantino himself is developing the plot alongside the writer and creator of Grendel, Matt Wagner.
I am
That's really all there is.
interested in this, to be honest.
Well, it would be the right time frame. They're both Western heroes.
I still haven't seen Django Unchained yet, but...
Neither have I. Tarantino movies don't play well for me. I find their pacing to be extremely uneven. I get so weirded out when I'm watching 30 minutes of dialogue interspaced by 5 minutes of hyperviolence.
I'm not. Maybe that's what it is for me. I can't think of a lot of Tarantino movies besides in Grindhouse.
Oh, there's Pulp Fiction. I want to say not The Usual Suspects. Reservoir Dogs, I think, was one of his too.
Oh yeah, you're right. I don't think I've seen that. I have seen Pulp Fiction, but.
And I watched 45 minutes of Inglourious Bastards.
I saw that. I was not impressed.
Neither was I. It's like I said, it's a lot of dialogue interspaced by extreme violence, and then a lot of dialogue again. They're very slow, then they speed up, and then they slow right back down. It's very strange for me, and I have trouble with it. That's me anyway. We have Anime Japan news. Most of us in the show are anime fans of some sort, and Japan comes out with some very interesting news. This one was kind of weird because I had to read it a couple times to make sure I understood how this went. Japan has officially, for the first time in their country's history, banned child pornography. In other words, they didn't actually have a law in the books before about ownership of child pornography.
That's
Still twitching at that. Why did it take so damn long?
You are asking the wrong cat. I don't live there. I don't know why it took so long to officially have rules against owning child pornography, but now they do. However, there's a caveat, because this rule does not apply to manga and anime. Did you just facepalm?
Yes.
that was an audible facepalm. Congrats.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it doesn't apply because anime and manga, frankly, is probably the biggest industry in the company in the country right now.
Yep.
It's $1 billion industry, so that's probably why they've escaped any kind of enforcement under these rules.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's very bizarre that only recently is it illegal to own stuff that could demigrate children like that, but to have that rule pass and still have the laws regarding anime and manga be okay, it is a double standard.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where else to go with that. I really don't.
Well, eventually, it'll probably change, but...
Yeah. it'll take time, and you'll need less otaku actually running the industry. You need business people if you're going to actually get a band like that to go through.
Mm-hmm.
In happier news, Hatsune Miku recently had several projects where, if you remember, she had duets with other Japan pop groups and singers. And she's also recently opened for Lady Gaga on her tour. Well, now she's been featured on the MTV Video Music Awards of Japan. The Virtual Idol was the opening act on the show.
Good for her.
It's one of those things where it's still an evolving technology, but it's interesting to note that this is kind of taking over. I wonder if it makes, flesh and blood musical acts nervous if something like this is possible. Because that would mean that singers could be entirely replaceable in the future.
No!
What? Was that the thought of singer replacement, or did a cat suddenly step on your genitals?
The former.
Okay. There's actually a new U.S. tour coming, too. She's got appearances coming in Los Angeles and New York. So this is all a big curiosity to me. In general anime news, there's been a series that's kind of cheesecakey called Date Alive. It's had 2 seasons, which in recent anime terms recently is a pretty big success to get that far. They just announced a movie is coming out for this one. I've watched the series. It can be mildly entertaining, but it is very much cheesecake and service-oriented. I don't think you guys know enough about it to actually contribute, I guess.
No.
Okay, how about this? We had another police raid of a salon in Japan. This one is for oil massages.
Okay.
But this one was busted because they apparently employ 16-year-old high schoolers to perform oil massages on male customers. And they're clad only in their underwear when they do it.
Okay, that's definitely questionable.
It is. Japan has these things that I think translate loosely to what's called welfare places, welfare joints. What welfare usually means is it's supposed to be, I'm stressing the word supposed to be, non-sexual contact, but that often involves a woman in either her underwear or no clothes at all, kind of dumping water on you, putting soap on herself, and then using herself as a gigantic loofah.
Which is weird to envision.
Yeah, this sounds like the same concept, except it involves high schoolers and oils. What? I don't know. Apparently, the girls that were involved here were taken on after interviews, after handing out leaflets on the street. That was what the job was supposed to be, just handing out leaflets, street advertising, and then it turns out the job was actually rub yourself on this old guy.
I don't know why that's funny, but it is.
Well, they arrested the owner of this place, a 54-year-old Yokohama man, and 3 co-workers for endangering the welfare of a minor in connection with the unseemly services. Apparently, this whole thing was disguised in Nagoya as a beauty salon. I'm starting to worry about the general status of anime fans and their sexuality, because there's another story here that another cheesecake show is getting another season. High School D&D is getting a 3rd season.
What?
It's a very bizarre. Yeah, High School D&D is getting a 3rd season. They've already had 2 seasons. I think it was 20-some-odd episodes each, and they're getting another one. I know you have no idea what this is. High School D&D is a bizarre story about a demon who's recruiting other high schoolers as demons, and they have to fulfill requests of invocation. And a lot of the time the requests are something weirdly banal and stupid, like, deliver me food or spend time with me.
That's a little weird.
Yeah, and of course all these demons are high school or, young 20-age women with various cup sizes. I tried watching the very first episode when the series first came out. I'm like, okay, I can take a little titillation. As the main character, which is this really busty redhead, is walking around, I can hear her breath slapping her chest, and I'm just kind of like, okay, this is getting a little far for me. This is a bit much. The fact that it's getting a 3rd season worries me, frankly.
It doesn't surprise me.
I didn't say I was surprised, it just worries me. There was a woman in Japan who was told not to breed recently. Or told to breed, I'm sorry.
For a second, I heard breathe.
Breed. No, breed. She was told that she should be breeding. Her name is Akiya Shimomura. She's 36-year-old. She's a member of the opposition party in Japan called Your Party. And they called for the Tokyo metropolitan government to support women who need assistance while pregnant or raising children.
Uh-huh.
Single mothers a lot of the time. She also suggested the government should help Japanese women who have fertility issues to conceive children. So obviously children is very big to her as far as a platform. And we've discussed how the birth rate in Japan just keeps dropping. So this is kind of an important issue, at least I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently the metropolitan government responded to her by telling her or yelling at her, hey, you should hurry up and get married, or can't you have babies? She continued to speak, even though she could be seen trying to keep tears back.
Aww.
It is kind of sad when this lady is trying to address the problem and your only response is, well, you should have a baby in you.
Yeah, that would be...
Yeah, degrading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the lady didn't deserve that for trying to bring up what is a legitimate problem.
Agreed.
There's an online petition circulating that already has over 32,000 signatures in under 24 hours. The petition basically says that the government needs to apologize to this lady. And they should be punished. The number of signatures was expected to exceed 60,000 by the following day. You know, it's a petition on change.org and what power they have over the metropolitan government in Japan, or Tokyo, I should say. I have no idea. But I do agree that they should be punished for that. You cannot ignore your citizens.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty awful. Last bit of anime in Japan news I have is kind of a weird one. In Shinjuku, on approximately the 21st, so this is a relatively fresh story, there was a mass fainting event.
Mass fainting?
Yeah, I don't mean that by, this is a test of an emergency response to a sudden biological. This wasn't any kind of drill. There was a group of young women who all suddenly fainted at approximately the same time. Now, let me put this into context. There was members of a Meiji University tennis club. They were outside a Shinjuku theater, and members of the group started collapsing on the street for no real reason.
That's
Police and
weird.
ambulance were soon called. They were still on the ground when they got there. Some of the ladies were so far gone that they actually soiled themselves.
Ooh.
So these ladies were not just out. I mean, they were completely out. They apparently lost some involuntary muscle control. It's a strange event that there's still, as far as I know, no explanation for. And I see pictures of ladies on the ground and people surrounding them. Although there is a call for... there are some people who are really concerned because a lot of the pictures involve police either standing by the bodies and doing nothing. In other words, telling people nothing to see here, move on. Or there's pictures of these women and, general bystanders just kind of walking by. They don't seem concerned in the least. Now, I mean, something like this occurs, I would need a goddamn explanation.
Yeah, right? I mean, what if you're being attacked by the foreign government or aliens or something? Or a deadly disease is breaking out.
What if this is why the birth rate dropped? All your young women are dropping down, and, they're not waking up. What the frick is going on? And it was only the women of the group that were affected, not the men. So that would imply that it wasn't like some kind of group poisoning. There's something very specifically that hit these women.
Well, it could be a group poisoning. I mean, men and women do have different body chemistry.
That's true. But it does concern me that everybody seems so blasé about this, because if these women soiled themselves, that implies that their involuntary muscle function is going. That could affect their hearts and their breathing.
Right.
So this is a serious goddamn problem.
And someone should pay attention.
You would hope so. Let me see. We have nerd interest news, which is all the nerdy interests that don't fall into comic books or media in general. Did you guys download an Android app called Subway Train Game in the Google Play Store?
I don't have a smartphone, so.
Okay. Well, don't download Subway Train Game. Over 1 million times it's been downloaded in the last month, and it's a game that is supposedly centered on running through subway tunnels for some reason, and needs to have access to your device's microphone to record audio, your camera to snap pictures, and know your precise location through GPS.
Why does a game need that?
I have no idea. I don't know why you need to run through subway stations and have somebody able to listen and watch you do it.
Yeah. That sounds a little
So,
weird.
yeah,
Unless it's
avoid
some
that.
sort of parkour thing, but
Well, I've heard of versions of apps that need any one of these things that may have similar functions. You know, often they're weird games that you get stuff for walking around a city. Why anything needs all three and needs to track you so completely is just beyond me.
probably for nothing good.
Yeah, well, Android has said, do not download this. They're under investigation. The tomb of Dracula may have been found in Italy.
Wait, Vlad Dracul?
Yeah, there's a historian that claims to have found Vlad Dracul's tomb buried under a church in Naples, and they want to open it. There's a recent update, though, that says that this guy is a French historian, and he may be out of his goddamn mind.
Was it phrased exactly that way?
Not quite. I'm embellishing a little. But it does seem kind of unlikely that this... Where was... I think Dracul was Albanian?
Transylvanian. I'm almost positive it's Transylvanian, but...
it's
I'll look
like...
it up.
Turkish. Okay, it was Turkish, I believe.
Yeah, Turkish.
That's right.
Turkish Romania, somewhere in that region. Okay. So the issue I have is probably the same one that these people brought up, is that why would this Turkish Romanian man, as far as I know, never really traveled outside that region, why would he be buried in Naples?
You know, I was thinking about that when you mentioned, like, in Italy. Really? Why?
Maybe his coffin stopped there and they couldn't pick it up? Maybe he turned into a bat and flew. I don't know. But, hey, you know, I'll be following that with some interest because it's very unlikely he's correct. This guy will probably turn out to be similar to that supposed alienologist with the wild hair I keep seeing in internet memes. Let me see. Did you guys read about the Amazon.com putting out their first smartphone?
Of course.
What?
Amazon is putting out a smartphone next year.
Yeah, it's called the Fire, and it's with AT&T specifically.
That bums me out a little bit because my experience with AT&T was pretty poor.
So, so Vlad was born in Transylvania, Kingdom of Hungary, now Romania.
Okay. Still, don't know how he would have gotten there unless he really was undead, because I thought they killed him before he left Romania.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So the whole Naples thing is just even more odd when put into that context. Amazon's putting out their own smartphone that apparently has quasi 3D technology. It uses the camera on it so that when you tilt some pictures on screens, it gives this image of depth because it moves the screen it moves the image in the screen back and forth, similar to how you're tilting the phone.
Cool.
Okay.
It's an interesting idea. You know, it's not entirely 3D technology, but it's a nice idea on how to get there. There was no word if this is the phone that could eventually be upgraded to the point where it projects 3D images. Remember we discussed a couple of weeks ago how people are working on that. Supposedly it could be released in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But when you buy this phone and you get the AT&T service, you also get a free 12 months of Amazon Prime service.
Or extends your existing service if you have one.
Yeah. It's a 4.7-inch screen. It has a 13-megapixel rear camera. As far as cell phones go, it's about average. I would have to see one. You know, the description is not enough to make me excited, make me want to, dump my Galaxy or anything.
Yeah, I like my Galaxy. It's an older model, too.
Yeah, so is mine. I don't have a need to be cutting edge of my cell phone. I just need to do a few things.
Agreed.
Mostly, though, I need it to be able to make calls. If it makes calls, I'm happy with it. This one I put in the general nerd interest news because this man has been in a few nerdy movies. Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock from wrestling. Mm-hmm. A story came out this week that he was battling clinical depression.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, it was before he became a wrestler and an actor.
Oh.
He told an interesting story, and apparently at 14, he was kicked out of his house due to being, let me read the story a little more completely here. He was getting into trouble with the law as a teenager, getting kicked out of his house at 14, and being dumped as a professional football player across his early life.
Oh, damn.
He actually said, quote, "I didn't want to do a thing. I didn't want to go anywhere. I was crying constantly. Eventually, you reach a point where you're all cried out," unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So he was so tired of being depressed that at 18, he really decided to turn his life around. He won a full football scholarship to the University of Miami. And he was the only freshman chosen to play, which, is a pretty rare feat in itself. But he sustained multiple injuries and ended up dropping out of school without even taking his midterms. He started spiraling again. He started getting depressed. And his coach apparently called him and said, quote, "Get your ass in a car and come back right now." He said he was so embarrassed and pissed. It was one thing when you go through an injury and depression. It's another when you walk away and say, "Fuck it," unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So he went back to school, continued his dream of playing for the NFL, and when the draft came, Johnson wasn't signed by anybody. He went on to get signed by the Canadian Football League's Calgary Stampeders. It was something. It kept him going. And then he got cut by the Stampeders. It says, quote, "You hear the words you never want to hear as a player. Coach wants to see you. Bring your playbook," unquote.
Shit.
Guess that's a bad thing.
Well, yeah, that generally means bring your playbook because they're taking it from you and you're being thrown out of the building.
Yeah, I figured.
So his dreams of professional football were suddenly gone. He couldn't even play in Canada. And he looked in his pocket, and all he had was $7. That's all he had to his name. But you got to credit a man who took all that and still managed to figure out what to do with himself. He became a pro wrestler. He became a movie actor, and both of which he's been relatively successful at.
I would say he's a very successful actor. I don't know about
he's married and divorced. His personal life is not perfect, but he's still going on, and the movies he's been in last year made a whopping $1.3 billion combined.
Nice.
It's pretty impressive. It's a nice turnaround story. If you ever feel like that everything is bad, just listen to Dwayne Johnson, who was a mess all the way through his mid-20s, and then he turned himself around.
That was maybe a bad choice of words, but you could say he, got from rock bottom.
It's a brilliant choice of words.
No, that's actually a fair pun. I guess maybe it's more fitting to say he got up off his rock bottom. Have you guys seen this freeform display that Sharp is putting out?
Who?
I don't think so.
I'm going to send you a link to this one because it's more difficult to describe. What it is a display screen that can take in different information depending on what place you plug it into. It can react as like an odometer and meters in a car. You can plug it into a different place and it turns into a stereo system or maybe a universal remote type system. It's a very interesting idea to make a screen that can take the information whatever device is giving it and turn it into a control panel for that device.
Nice.
It has a couple of drawbacks in its early phases, mainly being that I don't know of any technology yet that's made for this thing to plug into. Because Sharp would have to come out with a display and obviously all the devices to interact with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it can turn into an interesting idea and a nice way to keep people from potentially stealing different forms of technology if you take the display screen with you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things that it's not entirely revolutionary because the uses of it are still kind of murky to me. But it's a step in the right direction. This could be the precursor to the type of pads we saw in like the next generation. A universal remote system.
Right.
So it's an idea. I do remember the story where we talked about there was that group of scientists who found what they thought were gravitational waves proving the Big Bang.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, the team may have found out that they've been incorrect. The team of astrophysicists has had to walk back their findings a bit because they found out that what they may have been picking up were not gravitational waves from the Big Bang. They may have been picking up radioactive dust particles and interference that they misinterpreted. So they're looking right now to correlate it, but it seems at this point doubtful that their findings will be correlated.
Shit happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's always scientific setbacks. This isn't the type of thing where you suddenly, throw your coffee on the ground and say, "That's it, I quit." Just means you haven't found what you're looking for. Look deeper.
In all honesty, that even finding that should be still fascinating and exciting because, like, oh shit.
It should be. I still worry about sometimes because, extreme right-wingers, they often quote the Bible more than they'll quote science, and then they'll even if they find something that proves a Big Bang, some people will just say, well, that just means God farted and the universe was created 5,000 years ago. We have to figure out how to not reconcile, but at least make religion and science coexist. I'm too tired of people trying to force it in one way or the other.
Well, maybe his fart took the image of a Big Bang.
God bent over and lit a match.
Oh.
Damn it.
Yeah, I know the imagery.
If we were Catholic, we would be excommunicated.
If we were Episcopals, we'd probably be applauded.
Okay.
I had to find out about the James Webb Telescope. Are you guys familiar with this project?
No.
Something about a mountain.
Not exactly. It's a telescope that they're building. There is a trailer that's been narrated by Peter Cullen, who's known as Optimus Prime in the Transformers. It's going to be a new orbital telescope that's supposed to be 10 times as powerful as Hubble.
I imagine it's got to be more powerful than how long has that thing been up in the air?
About 20 years now, I think.
Yeah.
So they're looking to replace Hubble with this thing. I can't say they're wrong to do it. It's just, this is one of those cases where I kind of have to ask the question, why haven't we done this sooner?
Money.
I mean,
funding.
Time, money, yeah.
I think part of it also had to do with... Wow. I don't know about all that. I do wonder sometimes because I remember when Hubble first went up, it had a host of technical problems. They kept having to replace parts on it. And then there were other delays because I don't think we knew initially how to use it.
Probably not.
So I think only in the last 10 years of its cycle have we really figured out how to make grand use of this thing and learn something from it. That's probably why there was a delay in making a new version, just because we didn't understand what the frick we were doing with this giant telescope.
Now we have to
look
practice.
at me! I'm looking at things! What's that? What's that? George, you broke it!
You see that? Is it waving? What is that? We may be getting close to making a video game into a reality, and it's not one I would have picked as very likely to become reality. I say that because it seems very likely that the Master Chief from the Halo series may come into our lives sooner than I've thought possible. And I don't mean one super soldier. We talked about the Talos suit that's nearly in production, right? Okay. Well, there may be another piece of this puzzle that's added soon because DARPA is looking to contract a company that can create a portable, bullet-resistant wall in a can.
Huh.
They want to find somebody. Yeah, they want to find somebody that can, they've envisioned some very strange projects over the years. DARPA has asked for people to create molten metal-filled missiles, submarines that can fly. They have some very lofty ideas. I think that's how they push innovation, is just they make up a strange idea and ask people to do it. In this case, they're asking someone to come up with a portable device, probably about the size of a smoke grenade, that you can toss and it activates and it creates a bullet-resistant barrier between a soldier and whatever's firing at it.
Interesting.
Okay.
I mean, I still don't know of the polymers or items that can make that technically possible, although we're starting to get in the direction where I guess it would be when you have items like graphite and carbon fiber and stuff like that. I guess I wonder what size they're looking for when you have wall in a can. Are you looking for like brick wall size? Or are you looking for like K-rail size? I don't know, but if you make it work, I mean, if you make it work, the idea of protecting our soldiers is awesome. The idea that this technology could be bastardized if it hits like streets and black markets kind of scares me.
Also, escalation.
Yes. Because if you build this barrier and it's successful and all of a sudden the wrong people have it, that means you got to build a better bunker buster.
Mm-hmm.
Or a stronger bullet.
Because as soon as you make it, someone's going to steal it.
Or
copy it.
Thank you.
Actually, I was just thinking of some other ways to use it other than its intended purposes, like tossing it underneath a vehicle.
Oh, I was afraid you were going to say blow up doll in a can. No, tossing it under a vehicle could also be devastating, yeah. Simply because you can immobilize it, and then you're exposing the soft underbelly, these things that you can shoot through. The last bit of general nerd interest news I have is that Tesla Motors, their owner Elon Musk, may have changed the way that the automotive industry is going to operate. Because he makes Tesla Motors, you know those. Those are the electric vehicles that drive like sports cars.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2-door versions, and they have 4-door versions. Well, this week, Elon Musk has announced that he's opening up all patents to Tesla Motors.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, those patents are being released to the public.
I think he's challenging everybody.
Well, I think he's challenging Detroit to change the way they operate, because he's one of the few businessmen I've seen that believes so heavily in electric vehicles that he's made it his sole big business, as far as I know. He's branched out into other things, but Tesla is definitely his baby. And now he's opened himself up not just to allow Detroit to copy these ideas and create other vehicles. He's also done something that's relatively brilliant, because he's creating his own competition. He's relatively alone when it comes to electric vehicles and how they operate like normal cars. So if he creates his own competition, that means he could force his own innovation higher as well.
Mm-hmm.
This has been looking at the bigger picture.
He is. You know, he's both changing the world, and he's creating a world where he has to adapt. He has to change himself. That means he can't just rest on his laurels and let Tesla sell as the only electric cars. He has to figure out how to make them better, in addition to everything else. You know, as long as he's fiscally comfortable, I don't see a bad side to this.
Me neither.
I'm surprised the automotive industry let him get this far.
Well, I mean, the automotive industry technically has nothing to do with it, because it's all about patents. It's still his technology, but if he's released the patents for anybody to use, that means that there's nothing illegal about this. All he's done is say, look, free money.
I'm not saying illegal. I'm saying most people that, see change like that radically changes the landscape of whatever market or business that they're in are kind of afraid, and so they try to snuff it out. Big oil, prime example.
I think this is one of those moves
He
that
probably
they
just didn't let them.
Exactly. He probably did this so quickly, and let alone it's one of those things that American business people never do. Who would think to watch the patent office to see if this guy's signing papers that just says everybody can have it? Nobody does that. So he probably just caught them all watching.
This guy is my new hero.
There's a lot of libertarians that are saying that. They love this idea that it's free. It's literally free market. He has no secrets. He's put it out there for anybody to use.
Yeah.
Last bit we have is what the fuck news, and it's always interesting how we respond to this. And the first one is what the fuck of the negative variety, and it's truly negative. There was a girl she's 3 years old, and she has some serious scars on her face, and she was asked to leave a Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh.
She's in Jackson, Mississippi, and the girl's scars were due to a dog attack. She was viciously attacked by 3 dogs. She only recently got out of the hospital. She will not look in mirrors.
Oh.
Damn.
And this was the first time she's really been able to take a long sojourn from the hospital. She's been out of the hospital, I think, a few days when they took her to Kentucky Fried Chicken. They wanted her to get her out in public and get her comfortable with herself. And not long into the meal, an employee approached them and said, quote, "They just told us we have to ask you to leave because her face is disrupting our customers," unquote.
I feel sorry for that employee.
I don't feel sorry for that employee because, frankly, that's not a message I would deliver.
Yeah, I would refuse to deliver that.
If that came from my manager and he said, you have to tell her to leave because she's bothering the customers, I would look him right back in the face and say, you're the manager. That's your job description, not mine.
You do it.
You fire me if you want. I'll come back with a lawyer, but you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was thinly veiled innuendo, but they understood what that meant about the little girl's face. And this is not her goddamn fault.
Yeah, it's sad.
The story has gone viral and people are upset. And they fucking should be. This is a 3-year-old who won't even look at her own face. How's she going to get any confidence back like this? She could end up as a suicide victim, for Christ's sake.
Which is sad because she's 3.
I know. She was attacked by dogs. She's going to have all kinds of phobias growing up. She needs help. She doesn't need this crap.
Mm-hmm. Whoever told her to do that should be fired and fined or something.
Everyone in the
KFC
chain should be. Everyone in that chain of orders should be fired.
Well,
Agreed.
KFC has released a statement. They said, quote, "We take this very seriously as we have zero tolerance for any kind of hurtful or disrespectful actions toward our guests. Our investigation is ongoing, but we have been in touch with the family and are committed to doing something appropriate for this beautiful little girl and her family. We will also work with a franchisee to take appropriate action at the restaurant once the specifics of the incident are determined," unquote. Okay, I mean, obviously somebody has to lose their job.
Yes.
You know, as long as the person that gave the initial order, I don't know who relayed the statement or if it was that person that just said, you know, this girl's bothering me, I have to get rid of her. Whoever came up with this idea has to be gone. I don't care if it's a franchisee or an employee. But if all KFC offers this family is some free food, fuck them.
Yeah.
You know, for something this embarrassing and to put it in such context as what pain this girl has been through, I don't know what KFC feels about it, but frankly, they should pay this girl to help with whatever surgery she needs to feel better about herself right now.
I'm all teary-eyed.
Well, I mean, it sounds cruel that just because an employee insulted her that I think that they should fix her face. I'm not saying that they need to pay for every surgery she's going to need, but they should put in a serious chunk of money so she can at least start the road to the kinds of plastic surgery she would need to feel better about herself immediately. You know, she should go back in the hospital and wake up with a large segment of her face repaired. That's my feeling on it. I'm sorry. I know that was a downer. That just I'm a father of three. That gets under my goat when a girl who's done nothing wrong is getting blamed for shit like this.
I'm not a parent, but that gets my goat as well.
Well, let's move on to something a little more interesting. There's a Symantec as a chief operating officer, Stephen Gillett. He has a resume that says he has stints at Starbucks and CNET and Best Buy. Also on his resume is the fact that he's a level 70 paladin and priest with a particular focus on healing. I shit you not. He actually says in an interview, quote, "I put my qualifications on my resume when I apply for jobs. Here's my guild. Here's my ranking. Here's my biggest online achievement. Some people look at it and say, what the hell is this? And others will be like, that's exactly what I'm looking for." This man actually put his World of Warcraft stats on his resume.
Huh. I could see that. Well, I mean, I put gaming stats on my own resume for my current job because it's in the gaming industry, so, you know.
Well, he did it because there's a reason. He's a guild master, and his current duties as guild master include responsibilities that have organizing dungeon raids, managing the group's virtual bank, and recruiting key talent. That sounds like managerial qualities.
Yeah.
And
so that's why he did it.
And his role as a healer is very good multitasker too.
Yeah.
From my
Now,
experience.
whether or not he could create me a chai tea that adds +3 to my constitution.
Do you really want +3 to your constitution?
I'm married, yes. You know, that could play out in so many different ways that could be, let's say, helpful. There's an interesting story that I didn't quite know how to respond to on IO9. Some bears actually have oral sex.
Oh, I think I read about
I came
that.
across this article, but yeah.
Yeah, this is based on 116 hours of observations at a zoo. Apparently, when animals are in captivity, when they get bored, they find different ways to entertain themselves, and in some cases that includes oral sex, which is not something they generally do in the wild.
Interesting.
I don't have much to say beyond that because it can get rather weird. I see pictures of the bears engaging in this kind of activity. And they say that it may have to do with orphan bear cubs, you know, sucking on their own or their sibling body parts, such as paws and ears, as a substitute for mother's nipples, and this behavior carries itself into adulthood.
Interesting.
Huh.
So it might not be actual, like, oral sex at all. They're just...
And maybe some kind of instinctual thing, but still, you think at some point the bear would catch on to, okay, I need some milk. What the hell is that? Okay, let's move into something else, animal, but a little more sublime. Jesse, would you like desks that allow you to play with your cat?
Yes?
What?
Would you like a desk that allows you to play with your cat?
I don't know.
Well, check this out. I sent you a link. Someone has designed a desk that is made out of single pieces of redwood. It's being designed by Ruan Hao of Lit Architecture in Hong Kong, and he calls it a catable, or cat table. It's a desk that's designed with different nooks and crannies for your cat to walk through and play with.
Oh man, that is so cool. I want to be an architect now.
Yeah.
Redwood.
I mean, it's not big enough for a cat to stand up and walk, but they will crawl through it and just kind of shimmy in the kind of small places cats feel comfortable sleeping and hiding out in.
The only disadvantage is that it's totally too small for my cat.
You have a patty?
I have a giant, yes. I think he's part Maine Coon.
My only worry would be if I own something like this, I'm one of those people that when I get up, I'm relatively fresh-faced, but I'm not the most observant person. So I would wake up, I kind of sit down at my computer, and next thing I know, there's something swatting at my balls from the desk. So that would bother me a bit. Although it would be kind of fun with this hole they have on top there. Every once in a while, you're sitting there typing, and the cat does an up periscope routine and just kind of stares at you. Like, you know where I am. Is anybody here a fan of True Blood?
No.
Not really, but I'm familiar with it.
Would you see a musical based on True Blood?
No.
If for no other reason than curiosity, maybe.
Show composer Nathan Barr is actually working on a musical. He's already pitched it to HBO, and they love the idea.
Of course they do.
So this show that's basically, it's almost nothing other than vampires, fights, and sex is getting a musical adaptation. I almost wonder what their version of Summer Lovin' would be.
Oh,
that would be a little awkward.
A little?
Yeah. There's a woman suing Kohl's over $20.
Huh?
Why?
Lisa Ratliff of Ypsilanti, Michigan. She's 29 years old, and she said she intended to pay off a $30 balance on an overdue credit card bill, but she started getting multiple reminder calls on a daily basis for this $20. She was also getting calls apparently at about 6 in the morning and at 9 at night.
That would be pretty aggravating.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lawsuit claims she received as many as 22 calls in a single week.
That's harassment?
Yeah, so she's hired an attorney, and she may be due as much as $1,500 per call that violated the Telephone Consumer Protection Act.
Oh, right, because there are laws and things.
Yeah, there are laws against this kind of thing. I just think it's weird that you can, they were so adamant about this $20. You have my $2. But I mean, not only that, but they did it so often that this woman just decided the better way to go was lawsuit. I mean, if she pulls it off, congrats to her. Maybe somebody will actually think before they send the next robocaller after me for idiotic means.
Probably
I'm
not.
tired of stupid phone calls. I don't get many collection calls. I stay on top of my bills, but I get all kinds of stupid calls for other reasons. This one is kind of funny to me. There was a lady that caused a car pileup in Austria.
Uh-huh.
The reason why she caused a car pileup, well, there was a man who was rear-ended by a car. He was a motorist named Michael Kiensit.
Mm-hmm.
And he was behind two guys who had a fender bender because they were looking up. And there was one guy who got out of his car who just came up to the first driver who stopped, and he said, "Why did you stop?" And the guy pointed up. He looks up at a window, and dangling out of the window are a naked pair of ladies' legs. And the guy looks back at the first driver and says, "Okay, I see what you mean." What this was there was a sunbather who had like a large bay window, and she put a cushion on it, so her butt and her legs were outside the window getting sun. I guess she was worried about tan lines. Apparently, she fell asleep. So these have been out there for a little while.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So one guy looked up and said, "What the hell was that?" So she accidentally caused a pileup outside her place. Not long after the pileup started, the woman apparently woke up, heard something, and closed her window. I could not imagine looking up and seeing nudies, but I could imagine that causing quite the auto accident.
Right?
No, it's very bizarre. This is the opposite end of WTF. This is kind of stupid news. There is a sailor who's deployed in Iraq. He's serving on a submarine. Okay, he's in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, he's not in Iraq. If he's on a submarine, he can't be in Iraq. He's thousands of miles away.
Mm-hmm.
He's having a custody dispute regarding his 6-year-old daughter. The judge is an idiot.
Okay.
This man is named Matthew Hines. He's in the middle of a permanent... he has custody of his daughter, Kaylee, after 2010. But he was removed from the home of his ex-wife, Angela, by CPS. And the judge has ordered this sailor, who's currently on deployment, to appear in court on Monday or lose risking his daughter to his ex-wife, in addition to a bench warrant being issued for his arrest.
Oh my God, that's...
It's occurring in a court in Michigan.
That judge should be shot.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the very definition of extenuating circumstances.
Get a jag in there.
You know, I'm sure this guy has several protections, and this judge has definitely overstepped her bounds when it comes to what she's allowed to do when it comes to these soldiers. Because you cannot ask a man to stop his deployment, ask a submarine, I'm sure it's filled with hundreds of individuals, to turn around and end their patrol for this situation. The care of the man's daughter, absolutely important. To ask a man to suspend military service in regards to this is freaking asinine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, disbarm it, throw her off the bench, whatever, because she's obviously too stupid to do this.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Last bit of WTF news is one of those things that's really going to make you ask, what the fuck? Because, you know, China has no problem with its birth rate. We all know that. I think they're the most populous country in the world. Not the densest, but definitely the most populated, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think they have any problems trying to gather sperm samples when it comes to this stuff?
No.
I wouldn't.
I'm asking that as a legitimate question. Do you think they have a problem when it comes to sperm banks?
I wouldn't imagine so, but
Okay, well, Chinese hospitals would apparently disagree because they've come up with automatic sperm extracting machines.
Okay.
I'm going to send you guys a link. Now, it has a nozzle on the end that you're supposed to fit into that will move up and down depending on height. I just want to ask. 1, why do you think you need this thing? 2, do you think that screen shows any X-rated images to get you going? 3, please tell me this is not in public, because this is a stand-up machine I see here.
why doesn't Japan have this?
Smooth.
Could you imagine being a nurse in that hospital, you know, opening the door, how you doing in here, sir? And there's this guy hugging this podium going, I'm okay.
Oh my God.
I feel sorry for the person that has to clean it.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Maybe it doesn't need cleaning. Maybe a tongue just snakes out of the nozzle just going, yum, 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 thank you.
Ew.
I had a worse thought of what if this thing malfunctions and you're stuck inside, but it occurs to me, you're already at the hospital. I wish I had more to say on this. I have the feeling I should, but this thing just in itself is so damn odd, I don't know where to go with it.
I'm just looking at it, it's like, this is something Japan would make.
They probably did. It's like, well, we're not using these things here, sell it to the Chinese. It's just so bizarre. I love the fact that it's being called a hands-free automatic sperm extractor.
That implies they tried one with hands.
I know, that implies that there was one that required hands on it somewhere.
You have rendered us speechless.
From there, we'll move into our central discussion of the week, and that would be the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series. Now, we've been kind of all over this story since we really started this podcast about how this series came about. who's been cast in it, its development, all the way up to its opening in September. And even then, we seem to have followed it as fans. And I do agree with some of the early criticism in that the show wasn't the best written thing out there. It did meander in certain parts. What do you guys think?
I found that after I went back and watched it with a friend of mine, that there's actually a lot of subtlety that you don't notice until you've already watched episodes past.
Okay. Well, I guess the problem is that the series was definitely set on a slow burn. Every episode had something building up to the big story reveal, 2/3 of the way through the season, but you would never figure that out from watching it the first time through. The second episode where they dealt with that machine that was jammed in the wall of the Incan temple, that seemed to be, I thought it was an establishment episode. I thought this is where we're going to figure out more about the characters and how they work. Really didn't figure out much of anything about the characters. I just didn't expect this machine to play a role in the Hydra takeover of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
But it did. And it's kind of interesting that you have episodes built around one-off items.
Well, that's the way the show is being written. Things that you think are, and actually that's in general a Joss thing, is things that you think are innocuous little things actually turn out to be something of great import.
Well, arguably that's also comic book writing, too.
Right.
I mean, there's always stories that end 6 months ago, but something is referred to it like a year later.
Right, and Joss is a huge comic book nerd, so...
Right. I guess we need to ask the question, though, is does that make great TV? Because it does seem that the general patience of TV watchers rather than comic book fans was worn thin relatively early on, including several comic book fans who watch TV. They just didn't seem to grab the series because there was so much early on that seemed very unimportant.
I think everyone's so used to, readily available information now as opposed to, thinking about it and waiting for something to happen.
I don't think that this is a bad thing for television. I think it's something that needs to happen more for television in order to evolve the form and our brains. Or at least some of our brains.
Well, I wonder if it's one of those things that wasn't really going to portray well on television, because the way Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is written, it seems better as a net series. It very much lends itself to binge watching rather than weekly episodes.
That's true. It would definitely, I agree, it would definitely have been better served as a Netflix series or something like that.
Jesse, you got a thought in there?
Well... And nothing. I'm just harping on the same subject matter. It's like I enjoy it because it actually got me to think. Most times I watch shows, I just kind of turn my brain off.
I don't. I'm one of those people that unfortunately overthinks TV shows, which is probably why I ended up podcasting about some of them.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, that's how I gauge shows. Am I interested enough? Am I following it? Am I trying to think ahead of it? If I just turn off my brain half the times, then I'm not watching TV. I'm just kind of sitting there with something on distracting me.
Right. I've done that too.
So, I mean, if I'm not mentally engaged in a show, I tend to move on. I mean, that makes me wonder what exactly Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did, because early on it wasn't the most interesting thing, but I stuck through it. A lot of people would say that's because you're a Marvel fan and you're a sucker. I stopped doing a lot of Marvel things when they bore me. But there was something about the show that was kind of engaging. Maybe it was the character acting.
Yeah, I really, a lot of people complained about the characters and acting, and I honestly did not see that. I'm not even sure what they're talking about.
I could understand that because a lot of the early versions of these characters are very prototypical. You have the lone wolf, you have the super soldier, you have the newbie who's trying to change the culture, you have the tech geeks who nobody understands, and you have the enigmatic leader. They're all pretty much TV stereotypes.
Yeah.
But the key is they didn't end as TV stereotypes.
Well, you need a baseline archetype to start a character off.
Yeah.
Actually, I did have one problem early on, especially with the lone wolf character, and I'm using quotes, is that how he radically changed from lone wolf to, team player right away.
He wasn't who I was referring to as lone wolf.
Oh.
He was the soldier. The lone wolf I was referring to was played by Ming-Na Wen.
Yeah,
even still, the idea of the character of Ward being the soloist all of a sudden turned team player, I felt happened way too fast.
Well, that was the point, if you notice. That was part of the clues that was leading up to later in the season.
Yeah, no, I kind of realized that afterwards, and I was like, oh, wait, that wasn't bad writing. That was actually great writing.
I think the big problem is that people have gotten used to criticizing things quickly instead of waiting to see where you're being led. Like what you would do in a book, for instance, including a comic book, is you wouldn't, generally speaking, you don't put down a book immediately.
Halfway through?
Yeah. Unless the writing itself you just can't handle, but...
Well, it may also be a side effect of the internet because, there's still a lot of people who think that when the overwhelming amount of responses on the internet to anything are negative, then everyone's perception is negative. It may just be those are the loudest ones.
Yes, or one person was loud, and so everybody else is parroting him.
Yeah, there's also the concept that even when I criticize things, I have to realize that just because there's a lot of people criticizing on a forum doesn't mean that that's the entirety of the opinion. It just means that, like a lot of things, when people are satisfied, they don't say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know the ratings in the series were not terrific during its early phases. I think they picked up a lot of steam later on after the big reveal that Hydra had long-term infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., which I don't think is a spoiler at this point, and that Ward was probably the biggest double agent in, I would almost say, in comic history.
Yeah, I was really, really, really happy with that character arc. I think it made him... I already liked him, but I thought it just made him so much more interesting.
I was actually on the other end of that because I wasn't really happy with the double agent reveal. What I was happy with was that this wasn't one of those things where they wrote it, he had his cathartic change at the end of the season and now he's just the mistrusted guy trying to fit in. They stuck to it and they followed it all the way through. The guy was full-blooded Hydra.
He was full-blooded that guy's surrogate son. He wasn't actually into Hydra.
I think he was. He followed his edicts all the way to the end. I mean, he had ample opportunity to change his tune.
In the last episode, he was talking to... I can't remember that guy's name.
John Garrett?
Yeah, he was talking to John Garrett. It's like, we aren't really doing this for real, right? I mean, it's great to get our forces out there, but are we really doing this?
I don't think it was his son so much as I don't think Ward is used to making any sort of his own decisions. He kept saying, give me an order, as if he was incapable of actually doing something.
Well, yeah, because he's been conditioned, hardcore conditioned by this guy.
Well, I don't think
and his older brother.
I don't think that just had to do with Garrett, though, because when you think about it, throughout the series, he is very bad at improvisational actions.
Mm-hmm.
The character himself wouldn't do anything without orders from either Coulson or Garrett.
Right.
I think that's a character flaw. I think he's really not used to doing anything as far as decision-making, and he wants to be led. He wants to follow the orders, but he'll still follow orders kind of based on preference. And when it came down to it, the order at the end to confront Skye, he was really energetic about that.
Yeah.
And even though that possibility stood there, he still wouldn't do it unless somebody told him to. The guy has no personal initiative.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's been severely damaged by his upbringing and then Garrett's treatment of him.
Yeah, but still, he could, if he had the possibility to make decisions, it was pretty obvious he was happy under S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything, but he still wouldn't make a decision. He still wouldn't actually come clean or do anything to countermand Hydra. In the end, he still did what they needed him to. So I think the character is Hydra all the way through. It's like when Garrett was being led to jail. He had the possibility to end all that right then, but he still chose to shoot those two guards in Victoria Hand.
I still am leaning to believe he was more loyal to Garrett than Hydra, but Garrett worked for Hydra, he loyalties naturally amalgamated toward it.
I maintain by my statement when he was talking to Garrett about Hydra, he was very wary of it.
Mm-hmm. If there was anything from this show I wish I could remove, frankly, minus the mysteries that have been revealed towards the end of the season, I would remove Skye. I know he was kind of a driving character through certain parts of the season, but a lot of the times it was kind of a one-off note with her.
I really like Skye, but I can see where you're coming from.
The character had some growth throughout the series, but the core of the character hadn't really evolved very much. She made the move from hacker to low-level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent without really having to adapt herself at all, which is kind of weird. You would think that would be harder for somebody who spent most of her young life as a counterculture hackist.
Yeah, that was a little odd. But it did make more sense in context with, oh, hey, I know S.H.I.E.L.D. knows stuff about things that I want to know about.
It does, and I understand parts of it. It still seems weird to me that somebody is used to freeform. Somebody is used to doing her own thing when she needed to, regardless of the legalities of it, is suddenly trying to follow a rule book. And then when S.H.I.E.L.D. collapses, she had the opportunity to kind of, I don't want to say reform Coulson's team, but at least push them into a direction that may have made their situation easier. She didn't do it. She was the one who was actually saying, there's a system, there's ways we do things. What is the way we do things? So it just seemed kind of odd to me. I don't know if maybe I was a little harsh in saying I would get rid of that character, but there would be some particular shifts I would need to make that an easier transition.
Yeah.
So I'll walk back that statement. I was pleased with the evolution of the tech team, Fitzsimmons.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As usually tech nerds and what do you call them?
Techno-geeks?
Consultants. Usually those characters in the show, they do tend to be one-offs. They tend to evolve very slowly, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to watch the two of them because Simmons was the one who came in with that mentality of I want to be in the field, which usually means I'm gonna figure out how to shoot something. I'm gonna have my cathartic moment where I turn mean. Instead, they had her have that more claustrophobic moment where she found out that being in the field is not at all fun.
It's fucking
Yeah.
scary out there.
Yeah, she freaked out, and let alone the guy that kept saying, we don't want to be here, we don't want to be here, we don't want to be here. He's the one who ended up being the one that said, okay, I need to go out with them.
Well, no, he's kind of guy knows how to, I say, back veteran, stand his ground on what he believes in.
Sort of, but
Yeah.
It occurs to me also that his motivation for wanting to go out in the field half the time was something a lot of nerds can actually follow up with, is that he wanted to impress that girl at all costs.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. It was very easy to understand, very easy to relate to in his drive.
Well, at first he wanted to impress Skye.
Yeah. He does crush very easily, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, Skye's pretty, and she was new, and it makes sense.
She was new. She has new car smell.
No, it's seriously a thing. Like, when you meet a new person, and of a gender you find attractive, there's definitely a bit of, hey, I'm checking you out phase.
Hey, I've got legs.
Yeah.
And so, that being said, Bill, he's has some of the biggest and greatest growth, and it's kind of sad what happened to him at the end. Especially when I'm hearing what's going to happen with this character.
Well, I haven't heard about season 2 and what their plans are. I do expect that that's going to be a big piece of news, come late next month when I'm running around with 130,000 other geeks.
They keep hinting that he's never going to be the same, so that implies some either brain damage or...
It could be the actor had another gig and he needs a write-out.
That's true.
He may just be busy. Because you can bet after his stint on this series, there's a few companies, if not in the U.S., then definitely in the U.K., they're going to want his services for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do hope to see the character return, because towards the end, he was pretty damn entertaining.
I think it's interesting that the viewers seem to be like 50-50 split on them. Some people are like, oh, I hate Fitzsimmons, and other people are like, they're the reason I watch it.
Well, I know Steve is a huge fan of the pair, and after I watched the first episode at Comic-Con last year, and I was sold on the series because the characters, while archetypical, you can almost see those hints of where they could grow. I was just pleased to see that these two grew and they didn't stagnate. They also didn't become stereotypical in any way. They kind of came up in interesting forms, and the traumas they experienced were actually written into the characters instead of ignored at the beginning of the next episode. So there was positive movement there. The character growth I was kind of disappointed with out of all of them was Clark Gregg and Agent Coulson.
Yeah, he didn't really seem to change much.
He changed a lot, although his character got much more manic over the course of the series, didn't he?
Yeah, he seems like his sanity has been slipping, which seems to be indicated by the last scene of the series?
That was definitely where the second half of the series went after they revealed how they brought him back to life. You know, the mechanism of injecting him with that serum from the alien or Atlantean, whatever they picked up. It definitely... I mean, we saw what happened to Garrett. He went slightly megalomaniacal.
Mm-hmm.
And goodness knows what that will do to Coulson, because he started etching the same kind of bizarre symbols. It looks like some kind of circuit pattern or map way, but I couldn't make out what it was supposed to mean.
Actually, Steve, me, and Jimmy had an interesting thought, and that could actually lead toward programming or circuit pattern for Ultron.
Maybe. I kind of had another thought in that regard. If that blue-skinned thing that they got all that serum from was indeed Kree, the blueskins, and it could be that because he had Kree blood in him, maybe they had an accidental backwards connection to the Kree Supreme Intelligence, the one who's in telepathic contact with the entire race.
Oh.
So
the question becomes, why does it trigger now?
It may not be a trigger. It may. The Kree Supreme Intelligence V is just this gigantic brain construct. It's something they made to run their lives.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, it is telepathic in nature. So it could be it's not trying to reach out to him. It could just be one of those things where because he's got Kree blood in him, occasionally some vestiges of the intelligence are touching his psyche in ways he can't figure out. I mean, if that theory is correct, it could be that the intelligence doesn't even know he's on the line, so to speak. It could just be broadcasting things, and this is what you get.
Yeah, I would see that's more that way. I'm just curious to know what the connection to Sky is, because the hints have been interesting.
Well, if she's connected in that regard, if she's connected to the alien, she could just be another Kree. There's mutations of Kree that have pink skin like most humans do. So she could be one of them. Think Captain Marvel, actually. The original one. The male was a Kree alien, but he looked human as anybody. So, but that's all theory. I mean, the fact that her father appears to be some kind of mass murderer is a little weird.
I was thinking it was some sort of monster. Or deformed human.
Well, she keeps referring to the fact that she could be a monster, or that and there's been hints that her father could be a monster, but, for all I know, that could be their interpretation of what the alien is.
He doesn't look normal, so it's obviously a monster.
Yeah. I mean, for freak's sake, it looks like one of the Kree is going to be the enemy in Guardians of the Galaxy, so this could all be interconnected.
That would make sense. To me, anyway.
Yeah. Again, we're all just spitballing based on what we know. But getting back to Coulson for a minute, yeah, his character turned increasingly manic over the season. Even when things were going well, he just seemed like he was quietly about to cry in a corner.
Well, his entire world has got shattered and turned upside down, so yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
I mean, they outright even said in the show.
Yeah. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense overall. It's just one of those things where it goes back to the argument about why Marvel's superhero movies are so generally successful compared to DC's that sputter. And that's because the Marvel heroes in general, they don't have those weird cathartic moments where they just kind of toss down their mask and say, I don't want to do this anymore. They have sad moments, but they get back up and fight harder. That's their advantage. They all want to be Captain America. They want to be Iron Man. They want to be Thor. Even their Hulk in the Avengers wanted to be the Hulk. When Clark Gregg was having those moments where he was thinking about quitting, those are kind of moments I don't need in my movies or my entertainment. You know what I mean?
But everybody has moments where they're like, I'm done with this. I can't handle it anymore.
It's usually the point of quit. Stop whining about it and just quit.
Yeah, but someone usually needs to talk sense into a person. If they're getting into that point, especially with all the things that happened to him, like, it makes sense that he'd be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, maybe it's that moment of Hollywood I'm getting so tired about, when somebody always comes along and convinces them otherwise. You're just sitting there on the porch, you're thinking about quitting, see that chicken?
Yeah.
Sooner or later, that chicken's going to get his head cut off, and he's going to taste good and delicious, but till then, he lives his life, and then they disappear, and the person is suddenly re-energized and invigorated. So I get so tired of that.
Yeah.
It is a classic story device, but
It would be it
Yeah.
would be nicer if there were more often internal dialogues or dialogues with self that no one
Yeah.
else convinces you to do things, but you realize you have to change.
Oh, so you're looking for the Coulson on his right shoulder with a white suit and Coulson on the left in the red suit?
Something like that.
The only other bummer about the series is that they ended the season with Coulson drawing on the wall, indicating that there is some kind of issue going on with his brain. I won't say problem because I don't know what any of that means yet, and John Garrett himself seemed to be dealing okay with it. But I guess I'm a little bit bummed that after all those episodes, we were left with little teasers to make you want to tune into the next episode or the next version of the show. We weren't left with any real teaser at all. I have no idea what the fuck is coming.
Yeah, that's true. This could be an end, actually. If maybe they deliberately did it that way. Maybe they're not sure if they're getting their funding.
No, they were re-up for a second season midway through the first.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, no,
never
the second
mind.
season is going to happen.
Yeah, we even read that story where they're going to space out the season like they did last time with a break in between, but the break in between this time is going to include the Peggy Carter TV series.
Peggy Carter?
Agent Carter from Captain America: The First Avenger.
Oh, okay, that's right.
That means in between telling stories of where S.H.I.E.L.D. is going, they're going to tell stories about how S.H.I.E.L.D. started.
That's interesting, I think.
So, it all depends on delivery again. We've seen most of these stories before, but can you make it good? So, I don't know. I am going to miss the inclusion of John Garrett in the series, because he turned into a great villain throughout the whole damn thing.
Oh, but I love how he ended.
What's the actor's name? Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, yeah.
Yeah, he was better at Ward when he did his turn through the series, because that moment where you realized he was Hydra, that was super dramatic and cool. Where he just told those guys that were pointing guns at him, I know Agent Sitwell staffed some of you, so you know what to do, and he did that with that cocky smile on his face. I thought that was a great moment for TV.
Yeah.
But, I was a little sad to see him end, although the double false ending was kind of wonderful.
Yeah.
The first time he quasi-died with that missile to the chest from Deathlock.
Oh, that was a satisfying crunch when he kicked him in the face.
Yeah, I know. And then when he suddenly, they show him bursting out of that casket he was in, he crawled himself over to the operating table, got all those Deathlock parts installed, and then was almost immediately vaporized.
Yeah, that was classic.
Vaporized with a smile.
Yeah, I like Coulson's reaction.
This is where we put that.
Yeah. Just like a zoom. What was that? I don't know. I found it. So that was a fun double blind ending. I am hoping that Deathlock gets more of a guest role in the new season. Although I imagine you'd have to. If you're going to reestablish an espionage company, you need a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And that's something that obviously what Coulson's left with, they're very low on the list of. Mm-hmm. Besides which, he might be just what you need. You need somebody that occasionally works with you, but can be honest enough to tell you when things are screwed up.
Yeah.
And he's definitely in that position. So I think the show has been a positive, but I can understand. I fully will give people their bad comments and understand why they didn't like it. It gave people reasons not to. It's one of those things that is hard to explain to people. If you stick through in all 22 episodes, you get something really special out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have patience to sit through it. Let alone to fully understand the movie, you do kind of have to watch The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen that yet, unfortunately.
Well, when Hydra is emerging from S.H.I.E.L.D., when they send that mystery signal that, according to people who haven't seen it, just kind of comes out of nowhere, that's the explanation as to why Hydra suddenly revealed itself. They made their move. And it's the Winter Soldier where most of that comes out. The fallout, I guess you could say, is what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to continue with that fallout while the movies are on hiatus, where they continue that story. So I think it's worth watching, but you definitely have to find people with the right patience to do it. And make them do it online. Don't make them wait for an episodic release. Make them binge watch the damn thing. They'll get much more out of it.
Yeah. I agree
So
with
I
that.
So I think that's about it. We've got one more week before I send you guys on vacation and give myself 3 times as much work at the Anime Expo. I was trying to think about what to do between now and then. And my first thought was probably something you guys would agree with, and it's something we haven't done in a little while. We need to profile.
Okay.
We need to do some pop culture profiling, so we need a list of names.
Can we try something or a setting that we haven't done before, like less comic booky? Or at least some of them less comic booky?
As long as they're powered individuals, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, like, for instance, like Heroes, or... I can't think of another equivalent at the moment, but...
That's possible. The challenge comes into we need to find things that are not duplications.
Yeah, fair.
You know, and a lot of Heroes powers, if you're...
Yeah.
Well, not duplicated, but it's just... a lot of them are X-Men.
Well, Peter is Rogue, but better.
Yeah.
Peter is a much better version of Rogue.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have that disadvantage of the memory problem.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to find a list of names. Jesse, you got anything? I mean, I don't have a problem with putting, like, Hero from Heroes on there, because his powers have not really been touched on in any format.
Yeah, that's true.
I will be honest, I watched a little bit of Heroes, so I don't know a whole lot about it.
No, dude, I'm not saying it has to be from Heroes,
Okay.
Just powered individuals to profile.
Yeah,
Holy fuck.
that was just my random example.
Yeah, she was tossing out an idea.
Oh, yeah, sure. I just...
Actually, I have one that may be interesting. Miss Martian.
Oh.
That's not exactly one we've talked about yet. Let's see. So we have 2 thus far. Actually, there is one more we can draw from Hero. No, actually, there's one that we can draw from Heroes, but we can use our comic book equivalent. We can use Destiny.
Which one? Who?
Ooh.
Destiny is a precog. She sees the future.
Okay.
There was an offshoot of that was used in Heroes. Remember Isaac?
Oh, yeah. I was actually just about to bring him up because I really liked Isaac's power.
Yeah, Destiny's another precog, so we can use that one. And that's really kind of freaky. Let's see. I find myself going through the list of names here. There's an Avenger we can use. A Smasher?
Hulk Smash?
Oh, Smasher.
Yeah. Smasher is an actual name of a character. It'll be fun to talk about. Because it's something, V, you could do and would probably be thoroughly entertained doing.
Yeah? Okay.
You'll understand when we get there next week, trust me. Let's see, what else can we do here? How about we do one that we kind of agreed was horrible, but we can do their alternate version? Supergirl. No, wait. We're already doing Miss Martian. X that. Frick that. Miss Martian is probably a more interesting story anyway. Man, this is a little harder than I thought it would be.
Speedball's a super speeder in general, right?
Have we done Beast?
No, he's not.
Have we done Beast yet?
No, we haven't done Beast, and Speedball is not... He's not like anything we've really talked about. So that's a decent one.
What about borrowing from the new X-Men movie?
What do you mean?
Quicksilver or...
That's a speedster pure.
Well, we did Quicksilver specifically, I think 2 or 3 sessions ago.
Oh, okay.
How about Tempest?
Which one's Tempest?
I don't know. Which one is Tempest?
Tempest from Cyclops' team. In
Tempest. Oh, Tempest! There's no T at the end of that. Tempest, like tempo.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we haven't done Tempest. Okay. You were scaring me for a moment there. Because I know about this knockoff character named Tempest, and I didn't want to get anywhere near that. Let's do Male Storm, you know? That's what that equates to.
Actually, have we done Storm?
Truthfully, no.
Like, I don't really like her character, but it could be interesting to talk about.
True. Okay. Let's see. That's 8. Do we need a holdout? What can we do as an emergency number 9 if we need to? Because I don't want this to end up like Harley Quinn where we fell flat because there was nothing to talk about.
The only thing that's popping into my head is Cyclops, because we just mentioned him, but I think we must have done that before.
No, we've done Cyclops before.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird discussion, but I think Cyclops was one of the few powers that we determined could keep an honest man honest, because it's not one of those all-encompassing powers like or telepathy or telekinesis. You know, you actually had to be careful and be directive with it. We do need a holdout, just in case. I've got one, and it's outside. It's not even from the big two. It's from a third company. There's a character called Riptide.
Sounds familiar.
She was on Youngblood. She had the power to control water and draw moisture out of all kinds of things.
Oh, shit. Hydrokinetic.
I think that'd be a good one to talk about. Yeah, okay. So that will be our holdout, is Riptide.
Okay. There's an equivalent on Heroes on that, too.
Technically, yeah, but she didn't do ice. But I'm kind of bearing the lead on that. So we've got 9 names. That's good enough to work with. All right, so next week we'll finish up. We'll start our summer off with pop culture profiling. Then these guys will be off for a week while I'm out at Anime Expo. Hopefully, we'll have a couple mobile pods recorded in that meantime. So thank you very much. Thank you again for your patience for sticking with us. I know we've been a little irregular lately, but we're getting back in our grooves, and I'm about to destroy that by going off for a week. I want you all to have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing some of you at the Anime Expo. Thank you very much. I am Jeremy.
Jesse?
And V.
There's a big hole where the fat guy is. Thank you very much. He's going to listen to this and just say, fuck you, asshole.